This sneaky appearance shows that he is too weak to deal with the scrutiny of the world staff, as when this handsome guy is following the housekeeper in. Mr. Talion's face is as luxurious as ever because he has passed through many rumors about this sick man. Despite his superior's orders, he used his dad to destroy his house. I will take care of all karma, but unexpectedly within the wall, there was a mysterious change that forced his reputation to stand on the brink. The scene saw the police dumping Bo and Tar's car under the police, who determined it was an accident. But after receiving something from the father, Ministry of Military Affairs separate books, Mr. Tar decided that someone had secretly harmed his father. Bo and Tar is a national affairs officer. What is a national affairs officer? Are at the forefront of the movement in correct handling. Help send messages to the country of the people's principles. Prevent it from happening. Even if you spend your whole life avoiding fighting with your wealthy group, those who specialize in using ordinary money to buy dozens of high-ranking state officials and commit profound and dark acts. Even though he had to accept bitter consequences, he even had to eat like his father, even though he had never left the country. Although he went completely against his father's ideals, he used his acquired knowledge to save money from businesses to avoid taxes. Regardless of whether he is a good father or not, his acting seems to be very careful, because from a young age, his father left him alone in his work. Growing up without feeling any common sense until adulthood, even though I just knew it. Everything I do is for the great cause of the country. And since my last Kai, even though I was planning on becoming a senior auditor, he was standing on the edge of the cliff, looking down at the stream, where the drifter had spent all day returning. Neighbors said this was a case of a thief losing control, but the line knew. It's not as simple as the external transformation, because he is a test employee of XA. But what are the staff of XA's trial? They are the leaders of the movement in greed, helps to send messages about the fall of karma, prevent bad things from happening. Even though my father was once such a person, all his life he has been fighting with corporations at FitBQ, those who specialize in using immortal bottles. By dozens of state cadres perform acts of deep darkness, although the receiving spirit must be worthy, even have to go to jail. But even though Dad never gave up, it made him determined. Quit my job, waiting to become a bureaucrat, to investigate his father's nature. In the group of monks, after using the parachute, he came across something that said, even though my father senior at the Mandarin Bureau knew what he said, Dad found an important area that was likely to cause an accident, on a part of the road where there were no security cameras. The name on the screen also disappeared. This umbrella line is doubtful. This is not simply an accident. In the pile of his father's belongings, the parachute actually found a notebook and a USB. This is exactly what comes next. But the only thing left in the notebook is that perhaps this is what makes my father help me and my body. Even though I keep taking time off from work, I share my career in this world with a friend who is a member of the group. Afterwards, he decided to become an employee of the chrysanthemum testing department, to replace his father and complete the unfinished work. The next day, thinking about the situation in the room, he would easily surpass the other candidates. Being accepted to work at the beginning, this is the most successful job. They are having a headache. In the case of a football player's death, the amount of money owed was up to $2 million. If he still presents himself with American cards, he will fight. His subordinates cannot decide too long, because the athlete is a real loser. He just got hired. I asked the director to take care of this matter and deal with the policeman. Is Du Tu Tu Tien the best person? The slave chief was somewhat skeptical of the ability of the Jurian, taking this opportunity to test you. It's true that when dealing with police officers, you must use police officers. Like locking an athlete's car, then naturally going up to say hello. He read the athlete's statement out loud in front of the journalist. If these letters are made public, the athlete will not be able to enter the country because of his or her condition. Then find an owner to negotiate with the umbrella line. He was forced to go to the training ground and turned around while wearing an umbrella. I'm still not sure if I'm green or the king is stubborn. Still encouraging him to find someone to take care of him while letting him keep his mouth shut, while also letting him help him make up his mind, he whispered dryly. Even if you lose 2 tons of money, you will have to spend a lot of money. Even if you hold $1 million, you can live comfortably. Even though Dong had just agreed to a compromise, even though the money was low, the next day he came to his house and still encouraged him. The money he had already paid had saved his life, and now he still owed $1 billion. Although Thunder still encouraged him to choose 2 important options, pay the remaining amount of money or turn back to the police until he was still alive. Although Thunder filmed the entire scene, he still encouraged him to verbally guarantee that with this evidence he could not escape guilt, but still encouraged him and smiled. Just take the the calf of the parachute breed. Han let the parachute breed know what kind of physical strength he must have in Han Kwok. He has only been faithful to this day, But even though he is still not afraid, he has prepared a report to send to the police force to encourage those who are about to join the Italian side. Will they be able to accept a poor person like Han? Still encouraging turned to draw long, and wanted to ask for a reduction in water costs. Now still encouraging really doesn't have a fight, but he will fly away in a month. How can he make enough money in such a short time? Even though it was given to save money, it helps you to gain karma in this world. Even though it is connected to some foreign fish products, one thing is to help you save money. They gave me money to visit fishing games that were enough to scare me. The world shares profits with each other. Before flying to America, the athlete has one last match left in Korea. The odds of this match are 120. If the athlete does not come out, he will wait. As long as he takes care of the first call, he will pay the full amount. However, the athlete wanted to leave the country as an official, having everyone toss the lake and storm. Even though he knew it wasn't enough, he couldn't walk. A career can even be ruined. In the end, the athlete decided to follow the parachute's advice. After a long time, the athlete's headache was finally resolved. He was caught in a storm even though the fire was so painful that he was stuck at the end of the tree and imprisoned because he was stuck on his own. Tien has also had enough. The head of the slave department greatly damaged the trust of talented people like the line, even though it was not easy, and from then on, the line's career took off like a misfortune. 4 years later, even though the order was still struggling with its morality, at the main point of the world, at the meeting of the order was determined to be the leader and deputy leader. After following his father's case for 4 years, the parachutist knew that this person was an important link in helping him find and not kill his father. The first person the parachutist tried to approach as deputy director of the Tae-zoon department. He is a candidate for the next position of director if the current director of the situation stands up to the current deputy director. West Zoon also has no chance of the fairy parachute being able to fly West Zoon. Deal with the deputy director and parachute and immediately gain a lot about the parachute's achievements. But Tae-zoon couldn't tell him completely yet. He had to try to figure out the business. After leaving Tae-zoon's office, he came face to face with the deputy director. Both are vying for the same director position with the guy having round eyes. The two of you said the following sentences to each other. Because I live even though I return to life one day. Collecting drops of special items to be transferred to work. The big guy asked for it even though it was the end of the year. To conveniently observe your work. After 4 years, even though I worked at round one, the relationship between him and the enslaver is very good. She knew her original purpose was complete even though she came here to investigate herself, because 4 years ago the slave master was also present at the scene of the thief incident. She gave it up even if she had the chance to say what was in her heart. But in addition to the enslavement procession for 4 years, even though he knew she wasn't a crocodile, he happily smiled and had nothing to ask. Even though the line is a little bit explosive, it still works well. Even though I secretly turned around and walked away from the attack, I felt something like this in my heart. It seemed like she really knew something, and then the parachute brought her home. In the room are all the termites that the parachute has collected over the past 4 years. The target of the umbrella line is PQE group. The result is that the father was overtaken in the past, and P converted the daughter to the prisoner. Although the line has been tested over the past, P rules since childhood. Ban took revenge for a few million years, waiting until he was an adult, like an umbrella helping you to achieve the right karma. In order to confess the curse of the ancient interests of PEKE, it is no wonder that he sought the same cooperation. Just like the year he received rice from the corporation, he immediately went back to inform his father, who chatted again. The son is rich and talented. His father is like him. Even though he wants to complete his great career, even if he goes to prison, he still has no fear. I saw my father denying himself help. Even though he was extremely angry and scared, he left without telling his father, not knowing that was the last time father and son would talk to each other. Returning to reality, even though there was still some tension in his heart, he looked through the information of the yearly group. Where will I go to work tomorrow? The year I will be strong will be enlightenment. The thought of a slave is most similar to a person's intention. It's an easy defense. He's a capable person. Just look at the past and spend revenge in just months. I don't know if a person is hiding from the water or not, so I'm going to be sentenced to 5 years of punishment. Not given because of ability, not later, even if the first year comes first. This place is no different from a battlefield. Even if the line is not far, you can run as hard as you can. On his mother's side, he encountered the exhibition of 5 monks, Monk A, although the name of the order also had some worries. Because rumors of the umbrella line spread throughout the world, he did not work according to the original work. It's extremely difficult to reason. The project is stable under the calculation point. then work and heaven flow. He walked into the office in a quiet voice while the line was about to write data on the map. Surprisingly, she couldn't even summon the working attitude of the year. They say this is a place of crispy feeling, but they actually think they are the same place of feeling even though it has a disguised face and forgets to save it. Fortunately, to my great surprise, because of the appearance of the parachute, my father was determined not to have to work anymore. Luckily, if we believe that if we are like here, the year department will have a different face. At this time, the deputy director also had a relationship with the reporter. She wants the reporter to allow the reporter to expose the president of a pharmaceutical company in the world. The fake uncle who lost money from the people of Pong Vien Pha Wok was a bit confused and heard that the person behind the president was Tae Dung. This is also the main goal of the deputy director, since she wants to influence the general chairman, making Tae Dung's position always remain in the household file as investigation documents about the illegal actions of the general chairman. As long as Phong Vien Pok finds more evidence, he can team up with me, and then Phong Vien Pok and his associates will ambush the joint chairman. When I arrived, I saw the feelings of missing out on a large position and a housekeeper of the room. Money is definitely involved in me. I wait until morning. I just saw the president's men come out of the room and decided to attack us. Are you trying to bring love to the president, even though your lover refuses to live? But people still flocked to surround the president's house. If you miss me, it smells really bad. The gentleman who saw the ferry was extremely sad. The president of the chapter in the house was also standing and calling restlessly. I was about to call the chancellor, MS, Thao Dung Tu, to ask for his help. The chancellor said that he was the wrong leader in the city of T Dun. Dad was speechless between the priest and the chairman. He told the chairman to destroy the money if there was no evidence. The world could not lie to me. After a few quick meetings, he returned to the office. He asked the law enforcement department to find a way to reclaim the case from the 5th department. This was originally a loss for the 5th department, so the 5th department had long since reclaimed it. The other party also came to the school's campus to allow them to resolve the chapter president's case, forcing the court to have no opinion, but work quietly, then easily go to the chapter president's house and be discovered by people. They will be happy and will help them get their money back. He said people were ready to go inside and search, but even though they had almost all the money taken from the house, they still couldn't find anything. Luckily, the investigator found the position but brought it, but inside there were only a dozen used ones. The president secretly whispered in his heart, still pretending to be in pain and crying because he was starved. The staff was extremely helpless, and the people who saw it became excited. They believed that the year was in collusion with the general president. People asked to be allowed to go into the house to search and delete it themselves. Inside, he received calls from the police, asking them to disperse immediately. Because the year was already embarrassing enough, Oh Jung had no way to agree, but they haven't stopped yet. Suddenly there was a thunderstorm and Dad walked in. First of all, I greet the president because when hope is coming, we can't pretend anymore. Although Jiang cited the president's history of success, now for a month, I've been lying to you about every family matter, even though the president kept it in his mind. The president hesitates about the impending changes. The umbrella storm directly smashed the pillar. A lot of money came out. The leaders of the chapter will no longer continue to pretend. Lying, I want to prevent the storm. But every move has resulted in a map. The love story on the bottom line comes out cleanly. In the fall of everyone. Zhong is confident with the look of a winner. The angry leaders rush to the pocket of the umbrella jacket. Helps to treat overflow and prevent illness. Even though there is no limit to the world, it deceives us that it is outside. Statistics that discovered quickly followed. I see the storm even though it is threatening the president's headquarters. EP is lazy to try to recognize that there are people of this world who are generous. But even if the last quarter of death is not disclosed, like a vaguely wandering umbrella, if you don't confess, that person won't let you go. He said it's like an open parachute. Let go of the president's parachute. The clown continued to dig in as he tried to pass by the bald room owner, accidentally recognized by him. Unexpectedly, the bald man was also present at his father's crime scene like an umbrella. The people of the He's that catch up like parachutes. First of all, the first person to declare the parachute. Without him, the general chairman would not have been challenged by the clown who also had the most stormy words. He's working in the 5th department, so at least he has to show off his face and say it's dirty. Next to the things that come first, don't act on emotions, even if you don't care. The Department of the Year was originally a failure. Adding another feeling with many storms and umbrellas was no problem. In the eyes of the people, this lucky story was a hero with a habit of thanking thunder and umbrellas. If you bring the people in exchange for justice, you must show a little bit of risk and progress in moving freely. Deputy Director Kim saw this news and felt that even though she was a talented person, she could take advantage of the school's supervisory board to gain favor with her. We have investigated the person who colluded with the chapter president in the main situation of the district attorney. That person tried to contact each other via phone. Deputy Director Kim wanted to ignore this matter. She was planning on letting her son go to the police to arrest him, find out who is behind the deception, because the only person who intends to commit the deception is Tae-dung. But she just thought in her head not to tell Do-voon, because he was Tae-dung's son. On the other side, Tae-dung received news that Chairman Chung's case was exposed. He was so angry that he couldn't do anything about it. He just couldn't do it. The bureau of the exhibition came down and apologized to Tae-dung, not wanting to see his face. The bureau opened the warm wish. Then Tae-dung talked to his subordinates. Feel the river no matter who you are. The umbrella line is a double-edged line. If you don't use it properly, you will get hurt. P. Dun Lian orders subordinates to supervise like parachutes. Must let the parachute line follow the plan he arranged. At this time, the attorney said he was looking for the attorney general to lead him to the wrong attorney. The people from the raid on the president's house returned, but the police chief did not wait. The police officer did not expect the presence of the parachute line. He pointed to the bronze instrument to listen to the words, "I will lead the procession of attending the stream." Outside, he was accidentally caught by the parachute line, which was also part of the parachute line's plan. After that, the parachute line arrived at the newspaper, admiring the achievements of the year department. Trung and CUC did not want this to happen, but still have to laugh in front of the monks even if there is a chance. Old people are proud of their achievements, not forgetting even when they are angry. Feeling extremely sad, she immediately went into her room to cry. Judging by the line of people standing in that position, she must have been lucky for just a few days at work. After his colleagues praised him, he gave everyone a blow and hurt, saying that everyone here is incompetent. After all, even if I take the karma of all alone. Moreover, when faced with difficulties, I quit my job. Everyone is in love. But even though it doesn't appear to be wrong, actually, even if you want to use this method to provoke generals, let his colleague have the will to fight, but he makes fun of them. He finished pulling it even though he would hide it from the young people who should learn how to be rare. Anyway, in the office, if colleagues respect each other, they cannot work together. Even though his face was still glowing, he said that it was not good for him to change. The ability to do that makes you even angrier. The soldiers rushed in to scoop up the umbrella, a powerful machine with time-honored colleagues. Actually, it's not that people don't want to work, but he was always given the opportunity to develop by the boss's son-in-law. The 5 empty abdomens are simply enlightenment, but also where young people push the corner of the nation to hire the nation. The cases that others tried here were all arranged, not fate. 5 people don't want to solve it, but they're not allowed to do it. New people look at the line even though they don't know about it. Unintentionally broke the position of those behind the card. Director Anzang, the parachute control department. Ozang must not let the parachute continue to spread lies. Otherwise, all of them would not be in person. Right now, they are going out to eat with the same group as before. Go quiet. I don't know why the old Bat Kui was able to get the material. Last time, the deputy bureau chief assigned to the room, Ham told Tae-zoon that the person behind the case of Chairman Trung's arrest was the deputy bureau chief. Tae-zoon still needs more time to deal with the deputy director. Not in a day or two, he temporarily ignores this matter. The PQ prosecutor still had to warn Tae-zoon that if he let the deputy director take advantage of the PQ group's secrets, all of them are not ginseng, Tae-zoon automatically has its own integrity. At this time, Zom-zoon came to meet a senior. Similarities are co-workers with N's father. The police officer wanted to know about the investigation that happened 1 year ago in the PQ group, but as soon as he came to PQ to look for him, he immediately left. The warden exchanged notes and took out a photo. Did everyone in the photo know about it? Find the background given to the Italian umbrella. Follow the umbrella. The umbrella will find the answer. Because he is also the same person in the photo. The other party heard that she was talking to her boyfriend, recounting recent events. She is extremely warm-hearted. Even though she is just a newcomer, Y3 loves the region. The boyfriend concurred and said she has weak abilities, but she is someone who always kills people and does what her eyes tell her to do. He immediately realized that his father was planning on doing his own thing. It's about helping others. That's it. He said he brought some money to the hospital. Goes into the drawer of a patient, and his wife in this is one of the chapter president's victims. But he accidentally met the day before. The person inside lost all their money by Chairman Chuang Loi. The wife is planning to go with her to a lucky day, but when time is over. So she was kind of banged by a family member back to reality. He discovered that in the age of fruit, There was also a room of money. She went outside to see who brought it. Unexpectedly, it was Oh Jang. He felt regretful because he couldn't keep the school president alive, just caused someone to lose their mother. It seems that Oh Jang also has a conscience. He's extremely happy, because there were all good people around her. Then he said it was safe to go to the restaurant at night. The indifference of the person behind the umbrella line. I'm afraid that the shop owner will avoid me. Even if you realize it, the storm will continue even after you drink a glass of it easily. Say all the wishes in your heart. In the past few years, she has not had a good result working at the station. Also because there is no 10 promotion. Yet the newcomer has to face a stormy day. Again, the case is in front of you. You are self-righteous and arrogant with everyone. Then he started to cry and cry even though he intended to apologize. No one she had brought down from the village was as good as VE. So she went out drinking alone. Even though he happily took her back to the office, she couldn't help but look like she didn't know why she was here. She remembered that incident and made me come over like this, so she just dug in and hid. He dang went to find the umbrella line, both wanting to thank and apologize. The parachute line was also a straightforward person, giving he dang flowers to steal things. She also had to invite me to a dinner and immediately agreed. After that year, a good man resigned. He asked to meet with the successor. Turns out, through good people, I received a USB. He also brought about the improvement of the quality of the tenacious governor in 1912 and was a close colleague. People start to complain without any intention because they feel they don't have the ability to expose the truth. But when he saw the story on TV, he saw a false hope that echoed the case the accuser recounted in 1912 when he worked in the female president's company. AU Food is an intentional surrender of the rights of PQ. Initially, the company planned 12 stores in 8 years, but suddenly the PQ wanted to slow down the process, leading to increased rights. Keep the president wants to standardize, use that first SAD and the power receiver, but the accuser and the governor disagreed. They decided that the person who was simply reporting the world should get out. As far as the deputy director knew, the security incident was her responsibility. They were immediately finished by an, now the deadline is almost over. Furthermore, there must be evidence. Just relying on the words of the accuser cannot conduct an investigation. The profane person likes to wander below in Suzoi and hundreds of 4. It's rude to just ignore this case like that. After some encouragement from him, he decided to follow his founder. He put his trust in him and he came here. Even if you have a glimmer of hope, you still have to do it to the fullest. The next organization will be like a US official. He said everything that needed to be said, and even though he could understand it on his own, the founder only regretted and blamed the stubborn governor. Because I'm too shy, I'm like even though I brought US flying back to see for himself, he discovered that the stubborn breed had hidden signs in its feelings. The female chairwoman called out to him and said that outside, she threw the petition straight away and asked the governor's face, whose son was an accomplice. He wanted to inform his friend so he kept quiet. The female chairwoman angrily poured water on the governor's head. As soon as he walked away, he was completely aware of the reason why he suddenly saw something. He quickly changed it. The video of the sea was harsher. Even though the hat had a nose, many people thought it was time for her investigation. Because they were trying to explain the case 5 years ago, at the BA He Dang department, they met Dan and during the break. I want to borrow the case documents from the food store. I'm about to show up and immediately change clothes. The evil light refused and left. Then the evil light returned to inform the schoolroom. The Yidang Bureau was asked about the food and clothing, just in case the days of wanting to borrow 5 years ago were exposed. Lian plans to plan the year's situation, and the stream even though the wind cannot borrow documents about food in Austria. Pui intended to go online to find out for himself, but later found quite a bit of information and immediately brought it to the office for everyone to peruse. There's no one from the school department waiting here. He asked to re-advertise this matter to you. If they had made a mistake in their investigation 5 years ago, they would have had to do it themselves. Are people in the profession who should not rise up from the mistakes of transparent colleagues who want to protest. But life eats his words. He said he knew this would happen, had absolutely no opinion. After the school department left, Zhong Su scolded, "You go out, let the meal be lost." He said he just laughed and walked away. In fact, he had already prepared a pretty good plan. Even though he didn't want to let it go so easily, he immediately went outside to carry out a destructive plan. At the same time, even when it's stormy, it's easy to call, like she wakes up to her colleagues, to Austrian Food to collect data documents. After that, it was easy for everyone to see. The manager immediately died. He realized that when the female president scolded him, he had seen everything. He liked to miss his father and left the policeman so quickly that he couldn't keep up. After that, the indifferent director spread rumors that he had committed suicide in the company. However, the people of the year did not believe this story, so they went to Thuathine Co. to investigate the incident. At this time, the 3 documents they obtained from the previous year's investigation were discovered by someone. Mixed in a box filled with white cotton, long-term protection, the Dharma was immediately exposed to the heat, immediately gathered manpower to prepare clothes. The other side came one step ahead of the third, but they still arrived one step. That is, the shirt received internal information that the government had destroyed almost all of it. When they reached the door of the female president's room, they saw that there were all the guests. Immediately after breaking the door and entering, she used water to put out the fire, but only found crickets left in the hole in the phone stand, which was also covered in water. The female president looked at everything with a challenging expression that made her extremely angry, then went to the finance department. The sheets here have all been turned into dust, and some of the data have been erased. The security camera was being replaced. The 5th department was completely unable to find any evidence, and some were disappointed to call the parachute line. Half of his sabotage plan was already defeated. But even though he still had faith in the odds, unexpectedly, the school's defense team suddenly appeared to save the local legend of the good guy and advised the people of the Yeardo department to back down, because this case had been announced to the department by superiors. As long as the room is caught knowing how to calculate the parachute, contact the security via telephone. If the parachute continues to act dishonestly, the school may file a petition to force the parachute to accept investigation. The fake umbrella line just asked to think for a moment, saying 2 words about an Huaquac machine. I just wish I couldn't take off my parachute. Han turned around and decided to attack the 5th department staff. Unexpectedly, everyone was not afraid of the schoolroom. My uncle and I often went to meet Dan and at the 3rd office, also participating in a plan to destroy the umbrella line. One thing he knows is that he spreads rumors that cause panic among the insiders in the 3rd department. Good luck, no matter how high it is in the clothes you find in the grocery store of the year. This thing, the slow wind brought to light for the 3rd party 5 years ago, to improve the quality of food and fidelity. After that, I was so upset that I told the female boss that he was dead. The male enhancement pill was put on and into the body. On the corner of the condom there was still a stain of fresh juice that the female owner had poured onto the female owner's head. After the previous Kai of the tenacious governor, the 3rd party was able to start working on food and clothing, and they collected a lot of documents. The newspaper includes the main report. Only the report is the original, the rest is the fake version. In the quiet of her life, she did not move, but always ate food and clothes. My problem is especially freshwater stains. If I look at it over and over again, it's because of the data many times. There's no reason it's still there. After that, she spent the night trying to find out why the case was postponed, and she decided to change the documents again. Unintentionally created an opportunity for insiders to eat porridge, so she took the blame completely. It's not the parachute that plays with the towel, but it's all within the purity of the parachute. To find the insider in this woman's affairs, at least you have to come from the schoolroom. Can make a decision to end a serious case on the other side of the line, whether it comes to the door of the room or the world of the country. In it, a conference was held to choose a royal mother for all the people, including food. He gave out his name, and then the paratroopers opened the door and entered before everyone's startled eyes. He simply stated that Austrian food and related businesses, citizens are receiving this award. Because it is a water company, the staff intends to pull the line even though outside. The judge asked him to continue speaking, and the parachute was allowed to present evidence. To confirm his claim, Director Lee of Austrian Foods, because of the goodness of the country's company, the female president was harassed. When reaching for the true feeling of self, there are times when one feels doubtful. If he was the one making the accusations, the young officials would have to hide why Zhang Dok Li was discovered. Zhongdu immediately exposed that in real life there were people who colluded with the school's clothing department and stood up to protest. Because she is an Austrian food investigation agency, so if you put your name straight in your head, you will want to change the situation by gathering people together and arbitrarily investigating an unlucky case. And after finishing the inspection and the green shirt, standing here, he said random things. Even though I wanted everyone to look at the grave, I was also given a surprise food and clothing package, but couldn't get any proof. According to the accuser's intelligence, this morning, the Austrian grocery store is still operating normally, with short days arranged on the shelves. It's as if the year has arrived. The trust is in the hands of the judge. Why is the thing being transferred? It must be said that the construction is too sophisticated. That, the feeling affirms the wind. There is an insider who foretold the food shirt. The two above are just one. Dung felt bored and wanted to ask for their end. Leave this matter for the board of directors to investigate and determine the second round. Both the first round and the second round, to be fair, because this year has really upset me. For example, if you return home on your own, you will have to accept all the punishment yourself. But because I didn't want to get complicated with this plan to drag peace into the world, I followed his instructions. Everyone waits for peace to realize who he really is on the way to receive all his karma. In fact, as soon as I know, the life of security is the end of the world. Evil luck always accepts it, waiting for an opportunity to counterattack against today's fate. Even though someone gave Director and Tin a message, he said that he was being told by the Director. Betrayed, like even though he used a plan to attack the General, he called Director and to stand and criticize him. Luckily, he took full advantage at the decisive moment. The Director was furious, marrying Director, and, after the Director who betrayed me, all eyes turned to the two directors. Realizing that he was a bit agitated, Lin quickly let go of his hand and asked the two directors to be treated according to the current procedure, even though I want to ask for one more thing. Let the 5th department participate in the shirt food case. If they don't detect on the General, the case was pending with the Youth Bureau until the school department agreed to the Umbrella Line's request. But he had one condition. He had to keep it close to everyone. Even though he was happy in front of him, he also wanted to test his abilities. The umbrella quickly pulled the umbrella under it. HOA must find evidence before the prosecution period expires in the case. According to that trend, the seminary department is an insider looking at his change. This kiss is the wind. He told the order even though there was no proof of succession. Every confusion becomes nonsense. Although the monks want to go to places where the seminary school department tries to ask for forgiveness. To find the documents he had hidden, a bride suddenly appeared. To immediately know the story of the stream even though entering the stream. He wants to advise the line to do useful things. Duhan followed the Director and made it seem like he was not at all confused. If you have any news related to food, even though Duhan overlooked something, if even the supervisory board was fooled, Hun wouldn't believe it, even if he had to be a director. Now I'm confident enough to say that the game has just begun. He explained that after doing something that caused her staff to be investigated, from the investigation of the water, now it's turned into an internal corruption investigation of those who have everything to do with me. Just let me go away and that's it. Establishing a little apparatus is also good. On the other hand, the employees of the grandmother and the year register each other. Leg spend hard at the raw material of beef food to inject the original raw material was lost. Suddenly the room Pat received a call. He immediately asked his subordinates to return to take over the investigation, forcing him to keep the situation in check. Although he and his colleagues went into the 6 murders, there was no result because 5 years of data in the room have all disappeared because of the fate of 5 people in and Nin's room. Nor did I find anyone carrying the documents below. Hey, I thought of a possibility. Why is it counted through the window? Then the people at Thugan contacted many deputies to check and Nin's camera in front of the company's door. I found out that my school's car showed up around the same time I heard. The camera in the car's basement also captured the scene of the school's office loading a large box into the car. Could it be that inside that is the reason? Hey, that he immediately informed the storm even though. About the time the person who took the medicine at the palace in Duhun also received a call from about the room. Khan knew he was in need, so many townspeople helped. Wait for the post on the way to the supervisory board. The Khan will arrange everything so that the Stormlight capital will also want to participate. But the capital did not agree. Turn evil and think that life is incompetent. Leave this to the supervisory board. Rude and naughty. Let's see who is the first to find the house. It's easy to turn around. Like a do who quickly followed. That Hun only knows how to bloom buttons. In fact, before that Hun was called Din Kanjan. Extremely stressful attitude. He must find the documents before he survives. Then the bride said until the case expired. T. Dung worked hard to make a living, because of the competitive spirit in Do-hun's body, because before we were friends. Where Hun always talks about life in all aspects. He doesn't have magic anymore. Another bottle, Num, is on the way back and asks questions. To live even though, is it okay to lie like that? The Dung does not worry about parachute breeds. In fact, he also wanted to create an opportunity for the Umbrella Line to show that the events suddenly dragged on and ended. Despite T-Zoon's predictions, he didn't know what the show was trying to do, because the deputy director also asked the same question for the exhibition. Why did this card come out so early? The exhibition has its own integrity. He wants to have a fair chance before being given the next move. The deputy director was very afraid. You will be happily beaten by T-Zoon like last time. This time, I believe I can easily do it. At this time, Oh-jang and the parachutists returned to the year, the people in the supervisory board had confiscated all the documents here. The villager immediately asked Oh-jang, how should he continue to serve tea? Oh-jang still maintains his careless attitude, even though he is extremely dangerous. Just as the team members returned to the office, they announced the evidence they had left behind to Oh-jang. He asked to go to the law room that night to see if he could recover it or not. Because your food and clothing are shaped like these things, it proves that it must be very important. Even though the line thought Oh-jang had abandoned the case, he immediately reminded us that even though we were looking for the Austrian food records, the documents the supervisory board brought away just now were effective. A colleague wondered. The object of his love seemed to be carrying an umbrella of books away from the legal department and had now come to the supervisory board to confess. They will definitely be dominated by women. The shy smile appeared again, thinking that the defense was nothing more than a pawn. I'm still talking about 5 bad sentences. You don't need to worry about precautions. Go in another direction and investigate. Even if someone comes down to say something, he still couldn't help but look at the Attorney General, without even looking at him. If so, where would he hide the books? Be it a house or real estate, he has already prepared books. He ordered everyone to split up and search these places. Everyone immediately set off. On the other side of the schoolroom, the doctor was explaining to the boss. That day, the Attorney General said there was a meeting at the department. So I asked the school office to come pick up a few boxes of food and clothes. Said it was a junk box. My school also used to go well with the captain and female president of the clothing store. So there's no doubt about it. Maybe the room wasn't even seen by the family. How can you believe that your school is so easy? He told the driver to take the guitar from the car to check if there was any wind. After examining the deserted sandalwood, because honestly, there's nothing unusual about your school's performance. Du-hong wondered how easygoing her new colleague was. He tried to be the president of lemongrass-style clothing when he went out to eat and drink together. If he did not accept bribes afterward, the director would easily hesitate to say anything more. The couple decided to go to the director's interrogation room as easily as she saw his stubbornness. The husband did not dare to ask further. He left the director alone as a spy. After going outside, the director suddenly heard a conversation. If it was discovered that his clothes were stolen during the investigation by the supervisory board, he would be hated. This is the land the soul has taken the most and can use it to negotiate the battle. He gave the exhibition a chance and told the location of the books. The next life will not be a true story of greed and greed. The soul tried to know that the exhibition had bitten many teeth. He seemed confused about which book number to choose. Du Sol advises that dental implants do not require medium dentures. These are the boxes of display products I brought back from Austrian food. The director didn't believe that even if he knew how long he would like, he led him to the crates. Unexpectedly, he still left the printing in the office and had not moved it yet. The Italian capital city informed Tai Dung that the books had been found. Quiet when he opened it. The inside of the box is truly a mess. The fragrance is extremely old. Now the director says that the number of players can belong and the number is reduced. The female president is in the safe bet. So the organs were poured out to him. At this time there were only a few hours left until the end of the dark pursuit. Employees are also lying everywhere. Still can't find the books, because they were walking in the wrong direction at the Oh-jang office and realized. He started to reverse the mistakes he had made in the beginning. Oh-jang was waiting for a detail, so he quickly went back to check the case report. The report must not record the identity of the person making the complaint, which especially for them is A. After reviewing the report, the officer, maybe he accidentally said it, the name of the person making the accusation in front of subordinates. Perhaps he arrested the accuser. Declare good people to leave the year. The reason why the judge admitted that he was a good man was simply that he was an insider in his food business. Then the judge told the news to the female president. In order for her to hide the original books, his son took the opportunity to put copies behind the books. Before the end of the year, it gave the third match. The judge also helped the female president, the person who brought a few boxes of goods for the river war, turn him into a verse of thoughts to attract dirt. Everything the judge has planned is perfectly coordinated. That is, it does not ignore the inner country. Later, he arrived at the school's house and waited for him to return. Easy and straightforward. The main question is whether he hid his ugliness from the school department and didn't try to admit it. It's easy to come up with a saying that the Dharma has overcome the myth of European food. Among them, there is a number that is repeated and the operator will immediately ask for that number. In the village, the school director discovered that he had a medical problem, but it turned out that he easily used his phone to call. But the definition of food is irresistible. The Trung and Dan department had to try to recognize the wrong car. When Oh-jang ran out of books, He called his subordinates to collect the books, then sent the report to the national banquet, just in time for the banishment period to end. Everyone can try joining the group. Somehow, no matter how much food or clothing, they still want to find the books, so they keep coming here. No information left, accidentally found out, will be at the company's transfer. There is a strong seed symbol on top and weak fruit on the bottom. It's funny that the Austrian food guy asked the shipping company to take the books away. With a simple investigation, this year's department got the results as expected. After the books were brought back to the company, they were still transferred. Austrian food requires them to divide into portions. Then people came to the units to deliver to each other. Then these units brought books about Austrian food. It's very much a channel, but still cannot escape the eyes of the world's original. The next day, the example line at the food court waiting for the female president, carrying explosive demands. My teammates also found the original number of food books in Ayoko Por. The female president is moderately domestic, just having to accept the investigation. Her career ends here. The female chairman was extremely angry, even though she planned to go to the other side to meet her ancestor. Offered him a USB. Inside each is the true form, about the quality of the tenacity reduction that broke out 5 years before the tenacity reduction changed to the left. Suddenly had his first attack at this moment when his colleague came over, asked the governor to stay and take the female chairman to the airport. She has a foreign language about foreign partners. The director's leg couldn't stand it anymore and collapsed into the car. The female president didn't call her out like she loved her, but called the toilet to continue going out. The director just bowed his head and stepped on the chicken. It was only when the car officials got into an accident that people said he committed suicide. Back to the real scene. The accuser brought the video back to the company, opened it for everyone to see. He also posted the video on the screen. The female chairwoman angrily yelled at the accuser. He made the female chairperson stop. Everyone came together to judge Coda. The female chairwoman angrily left. At this time, thunderstorms and clowns came to the governor's house, bringing the regular evening to the area for him. The bottle doesn't want to accept my nest. I'm still sure, Dad. If I hadn't come forward, I would still be alive today, despite understanding his mood, because I'm also in that situation. But even though I know one thing, if people keep looking at the plastic before the cabbage will become more and more prevalent. Anyone can be a victim of wealth, but few people can resist it. Even though my mouth is like that, I love you very much. He doesn't show off in front of others. He only knows how to hide in a corner alone. Even in the middle of a stormy night, he tries to sleep, when everyone has gone home, even though lying down is enlightenment. But the police chief has remained hidden here in disguise for the past year. Surely he's hiding some secret. After a while of searching without results, even though he accidentally discovered that the fire control was out of order, he immediately realized there is something inside the air conditioner, even though I have a book called the Book of Life. This will definitely create a huge thunderstorm. On the other side, Oh Jung is sitting breathing heavily at the restaurant. The doctor thought to turn in the opposite direction when suddenly the bullet room appeared. He's flowing everywhere right into the parachute stream. The officer wanted to exchange information with Oh Jung. He listed several discoveries about parachute flow. You are the son of a controller who single-handedly opposes the corporation over decisions. But unfortunately, I encountered a deadline to exchange noodles last year. At that time, although my father was famous, Oh Jung still remembers him. The thing worth mentioning here is that the father and mother are very close. The parachutist became a police officer and worked at the 5th department. It's all Tezen's future. Oh, there's danger between Tezen. Coming here, he immediately went to the river and took the book when Tezen came to the country's office. He was upset about the fact that the security ceremony was hidden from Tezen, probably exposing his subordinates. Then maybe let this happen. The subordinates only know how to politely say that if this news does not leak out, the country will still keep its face. But Tezen has other ideas, that is to let the exhibition bear the blame alone. The internal bosses will leave money to save, but that shows that the family situation is fair to everyone. Each of them going to the Zune can eliminate the Trung and trader. One day the wasteful subordinates will be like the Trung An. When they ask the safe-eyed Thang, this will change. This is all Hearted and the cat. On the other side, the Zorn brought the Dong to the office to let his son know the upcoming plan, so that he can each take up the position of the whole. Do the marriage too. Advise. Dad, stop. With the current situation, as long as he doesn't do anything to please Duck Thai, he can easily gain his position in the world. But the deep story he did in the past, to get to where he is today, Tezen had to look after many opponents and even colleagues. He taught the city a lesson that people who are not good but don't work hard will never succeed. Do you know why you always lose the line whether or not? Because I'm not good at it and I keep guessing like you. The city so dearly wished Tezen would give him his last chance. This time I have to win, even though suddenly Tezen received a destiny message. Someone outside asked to meet Tezen to come out and take a look. It turned out to be an exhibition. Mr. TAC begged NGO to cry, but NGO UT did not agree. The Trungan department moved to threaten him. The author will definitely take part in the water events, including the name of Tung Tung Nung. Tung Nung still appears calm. He knew that once the body was made public, the police department would be attacked and hunted for a job anywhere. So if you're still far away, you're planning to overtake your child or need to remind yourself of the slight problem in this transition. The security department was extremely helpless and numb even though he left. On the other hand, the umbrella comes to the house to offer prayers to take part in a faraway meditation. The old man remembers that when he came to this family, they were all in a cloud of smoke. She's the only girl who still hides signs of life. He told her to rush the baby to the emergency room. Returning to reality, he discovered that there was a fresh bouquet of flowers in the lady's yard. He said that he was quick to flow that beyond love. The teacher thought that the bouquet of flowers was left behind by that family, but he couldn't find anyone. He was extremely disappointed, even though it's related to being a slave. I want the slave to write an application to transfer the job to a layman, because in the near future, the school department will definitely be dismissed, similar to Dung Dung Hat, gathering those who believe in peace and quiet in the yearly office to bring success and enlightenment here, revealing the dark secrets that the young family hid from the slave school, not wanting to see the truth. She is very polite. Unexpectedly, Nu Dung Du said that the name Dung is a polite Chuan. After that, Dung Duong will be able to fight with the PQE group in a battle. Why is the name Dung? Because of last year's sadness, Thunderstorm discovered a secret hidden activity in Zongshu's father's group of monks. Let me tell you, she accidentally learned about the conversation between Zongshu's father and the school office, and Mr. Zingen's involvement was just that. Let the PQD's bribers find the black coin, which is the number Zongshu received but only left, after which Zongshu began to investigate his father's sacrifice. He got the blue book, the cars going in and out of the road, and he had to check the accident records. It was like checking the vehicle's blacklist and accidentally discovering another vehicle that wasn't in the police search book. It also does not appear in Cam Mi Ra Promenade, the section of road with two Cam Mi Ra in the east and west. The one on the west side was pink because the car knew that, so the car entered from the west, then turned around again down the road. Why did the car have to do that? The person doing the secret thing must have a secret. Just like getting a license plate for a vehicle, then many people search for a vehicle with a license plate. When he has nothing to do, that person is the car of the West. Although he knew that the driver was from the father's shipping company, he wanted to fulfill his father's ideals. Even though I planned to stay silent for 4 years, returning to the stormy reality despite taking every step in the destructive plan to eliminate the people who are progressing in the Western world. The first one is the police chief. The act of being a slave to the storm despite knowing that things are not simple. But despite walking on this road, do you intend to never turn back? Do you want to protect your father? That's right, selling your head. Nguyen Bo has always been a normal person. Even though he was involved in visiting the PQ, he still attended his son's birthday. On the contrary, the umbrella line is always sure of the father, making it impossible for the two sets of children to have the opportunity to eat their last dinner together. Tin remained calm later in life despite understanding his father's ideals, even though he had to fight alone against a force like the PQ. The truth must also be exposed to the light, so that people will not be unfair. The father cannot be completed, so the umbrella line will follow in his footsteps. Another party went to the restaurant to meet with PQ forces. Tin Tran happily let T Zun climb the millet. Lawyer PQ went to meet with a group of high-ranking leaders, including the deputy chief of staff. Now someone is calling to tell T Zun. Someone has leaked information to the press about someone in the world. Accepting bribes to help prepare food, T Zun was extremely confused, thinking he was being betrayed. The next day, T Zun saw the news that the female president of AU Food was arrested. She also admitted that there were people in the world who helped along with photos of PQ lawyers who were not good managers. The Zun believes that you are still there. He can't sleep with you. Go to the location and ask the director to follow the plan. Then the director goes to meet the deputy manager. He told her to mess up the case and only the director was charged with corruption. The director said it could not be related. The deputy knew that this was the Zun's instructions. She's a young woman. The road is long and muddy, just like her father, who's in trouble right now. One side is the father's plan. The other side is the certainty of karma. He still didn't know which side to choose. At this time, The director said the price would be released. He was congratulating Oh Jang with his colleagues and didn't feel sorry for him, but he couldn't do anything. Unexpectedly, Oh Jang passed by the security exhibition and his face was extremely sympathetic, reminding Oh Jang of a few years ago when they were together. There was even a story that Oh Jang was also the superior of the other two people. At that time, the security team stood up and accused Oh Jang of bribing and using force to check taxes, including an entire family. He angrily confronted Tian. Where did he hear that information? He didn't expect that Tian and said that everyone in the party had gathered to accuse him. He said that now he understood that he had been seduced by that girl to become a person like that. Dukan came down to apologize. He said that the police didn't force him to do that. The others didn't even dare to look directly at him. Suddenly, Tizun appeared. Finally, he also knew who was behind everything. We almost despair because we know we won't be able to change the outcome. We believe that little is left, and then we accept reality. But Wei Zhang still has a transfer sentence, please West Zun. Let's replace also tuck drink of that assumption. Western Zun often refuses, making him hold grudges in his heart, returning to reality and wondering, about this time, what situation has happened to me? The school department is in peace and quiet. It's surprising that he would hide in this country despite being enlightened people. We must also look this year to see the money in each fruit peel. Back home, there are some bastards who don't know how to make ends meet even after they took the money to find it. You know what it means to ask for a release. You said that you were leading the Trungan department. Please tell me. Suddenly the numbness appeared and a dirty reminder appeared. This is not the place to be rude. So he asked to let go, and the hatred in his heart was once again awakened. Then, numbly, he went to the school's office. He admitted his fault because he was still indifferent to his subordinates. The school department is a person with a certain karma. This matter cannot be assured alone, but there must be a problem with the system in life. They have overlooked too many red holes and many opinions. Establishing an investigation desk. The old wolf of the world once only had a few flaws in the system. She asked that from the beginning she knew that the deputy wanted to abandon her superior. Why is it a grandmother's life? The deputy sought to find evidence from the local government that he had called the general chairman. In the pharmaceutical company case, facing the eyes of life's destructive karma, the boss did not hesitate to ask further questions. Medical information desk was established. Let's move around internally. Everyone is connected, so no one is involved in the long life. Then everyone will find themselves extremely confused and rush to find out the cause. At this time, Du Hong prepared a supervisory desk for the 5th department to collect documents in the office of the 5th department. The main purpose is still to find the embedded carpet book as they cannot see it behind the flowers. Because the line had become more gentle, Du Hong asked the 5th department staff if anyone had ever been in this room, but they shook their heads, and the supervisory staff returned home. The outside world has just seen the umbrella. The capital city suspects that the umbrella is the one who took the book. Lin went along to ask who it was, but even though he pretended not to know, his attitude was extremely unpleasant. When Du Hong felt the owl, suddenly someone rushed forward and broke the umbrella. I'm sorry, everyone is confused and doesn't understand what's going on. Now my mother was angry, took the umbrella and threw it to the ground. It made me so angry that it was all just a misunderstanding. Now that I'm here, I'm not the chief of police. A year ago, he had a weight gain with a party to make his shoulders heavier. But up to now, they have not been taught how to resolve it, causing many more victims. However, after looking through the report at the flywheel itself, I heard that I didn't see anything unusual. Having a complete interview and submitting according to regulations is just the tip of the iceberg. 2 years ago, my mother started working at the runway. We also found it to be no problem, but after a year of light we discovered the dark side of ice. A student struggled to pay for his mother's medical treatment because he didn't have enough money to pay. Should be filled with onions coming down from the wall too. At that time, Zia MEP was also shocked and immediately told the police to quit. However, when the police went to the hospital to take statements, please tell me that I tripped myself. Zia MEP promised to take the stand as a witness, but he still didn't change his decision and the 5th department staff was suspicious. You can ask for pills and be bought dozens. Learning from a gang will clear his debt. That's also the reason why Zia MEP is as many as 5 of you. I want to find out if the gang used the money for any legal purpose. The day I came here, I suddenly remembered an owl case. Do you want to know what your company name is? Now it is called Man Cut. Only people in the party know that the owl's name is the use of fish and that it is a case of using fish that has been handled by many years. This is also the case that leaves the most strings in everyone's hearts. A mother's role is to predict her daughter's illness. Like not being able to afford it because of being used as a debtor. The mother left a private letter for her mother, then guilt himself next to his deceased daughter. By the time I got there, it was too late. Later on, this case was called off again and again this morning. They paid the bill for the accident. Kwong thought that the fourth case had been resolved many years ago, but he did not expect that this was also a bad case. People began to feel that there was a problem in this matter. After co-workers that in addition to learn clown that and like whether to stay in the office. Even though he didn't want to answer, he didn't know what he was doing, and he was still trying to overcome his own karma. Although it is good advice that everyone should not be far away, here we are on the same level, and moreover, you have also changed our minds. Even if you ask someone, if it's the same level, promise to trust me, no matter what happens or not, and think like whatever you're saying. So I agree with him. His words unintentionally made her feel warm. One side spread the story to all around the Dun, to beg him to save them, and later spread the story to get involved in the book. But the parachute was given to him, and it turned out that the parachute came to find the Attorney General, easily expecting him to betray the West, and became your backup in return for these documents. But the Attorney General's office easily refused to accept the West. Only loyal to his subordinates, Tae used to look through the documents, suddenly burst out laughing. Because the plan was successful, Tae Dun realized the true face of the district attorney is a traitor. Before that, the Nun family came to the Western Dharma Dun, give him the next copy of the book, which is easy to get involved in, and help him grow up a bit. Let us pretend to be ourselves, that's to help numb us. Determined his loyalty when he was discouraged and at a dead end. The umbrella line will easily provide original reference books for the development. If he brought enough money to the audience, it could be a sign of loyalty. But the exhibition has a different meaning. He hid a part of the original corruption book. The new all provides room for the worm, back to carrying the worm during the exercise. Otherwise, if the book was hidden, it would take his entire life out of this world. If not, it's inevitable. Let's talk about the West River and the bottom, and the middle of the tree will bloom on the face. Because having good cards is like a thunderstorm. I left a trader and only now have I realized it. Even though the storm itself is painful, he only knows that he hates. After the war, the nation held a meeting to find a replacement for the position of leader of the anti-post-war year. Everyone has the right to open their doors and open their doors. After a while of silence, he decided to speak up so that his door would turn out to be Yuzhang. The entire hall was filled with beans. The most shocking person to mention was Tezin. I know that Yuzhang is back. This is definitely to take revenge on Mr. Ta. For the past year, Yuzhang has lived happily in the decaying state of the country's life. Because Ntar can't step past the shadow of Ntar, like a parachute-like person appears. Yuzhang realized that turning a blind eye was the way to go, and Ta decided to stand up. Fighting for justice once again, Ojang finally had this opportunity when the prisoner was arrested. Ojang summoned him and asked him to take his place in the trial. Because if not in a high-ranking position, a person will eventually become useless. Back to reality, the book on supernatural abilities and two qualities of Ojang are both qualified to become the year's exhibition. A lot of people support our case, but there are still people who drag it out every now and then. It's the case of the local Muadang. In order to stop the bad guy, suddenly a person opened the door and walked in. He was the boss's friend. He was also the boss's friend. The police officer said that the security incident was just an accident and not the boss's fault. Furthermore, the boss also took all the responsibility and protected his colleague, who had such a sincere heart. He was completely worthy of being a top department officer. At this point, many people began to change officers to gain the favor of the school department. Duong's name also supports the staff, but there are still people who are worried. Oh, it will be the last car of the school department in my previous career. The school department decided to stand up and guarantee easily. If after 3 months there are any problems, he will be responsible and self-serving as if the school department had no power, bringing everyone to the forefront of the country's life, without the need for approval from the board of directors. Everyone starts like that. The evil force on a few it's also heavier. A positive name brings joy to the heart, because this is a good opportunity for him to bring down the school's authority. That's what the school's podium said. Everyone couldn't help but have more opinions, so he decided to turn to the school district election. 3 new terms, and at the end of the meeting, the school bureau was elected. The new bureau is the Wujiang, the third bureau is the slave bureau. The podium congratulated both of them and then left. The deputy director lost both of his powerful arms, was replaced by 2 new people. Even though it was extremely difficult to summon, I still forced myself to congratulate. Some components show signs of difficulty because they were worried that the director would expose their secrets. Just like he had to be the director of security. At this time, the Storm and the Sky were all investigating the story of the army's thirst, but they did not understand the reason. Why is the debtor so frightened that he doesn't care, but still covering up for the gang? Perhaps it's about asking for her money, but the amount of money she owes is just around the corner. It's not enough to sell one's life like that, even if it's just a guess. Maybe the debtor is lured by the gang to keep another place to pay off the debt. After that, the debtor cannot afford to repay this new loan, so he is used by the gang to gain financial benefits. I have one thing when I married. It took me a year to not be able to solve the case. It takes a lot for a 4-on-4 match to take only 1 or 5 days. Up ended the case gently because he said they were competent. So most of the games are related to the use of sticks, so the world decides to go to the game to find more than one trip. She and her colleagues came outside to help her. Inside, Jiang asked the school's room department 4 about using the stick and personally, but I didn't want to answer the schoolroom department 4 or the schoolroom 5. Jiang was angry because he had to know how the 4th department was paid for the fish. Looking at the attitude of the 4th department, the 4 can pick up the 4th department and use the relevant sand cone. After finishing the parachute and his colleagues, he went to the outside world and acted here, which was enough. As soon as they were about to go to schoolroom, department 4, they immediately called the local to inform the school department of Department 4. Fuck in the year posted an investigation about the child's properties, and the upcoming exhibition was announced at the beginning of the year, because in the current year, there is no one to leave them like trees, and moreover, they are completely established. At this time, the boss returned to the office to prepare to receive before he opened the drawer. Take the newspaper that was bought by the local police and use it to imply that this guy has been following Mr. Nyok for 4 years. When he came to buy a house, he was already in trouble, but luckily Oeng discovered it. Their daughter was still alive, so he rushed her to the hospital. Recalling the reality that Jiang was ready to escape from his past, to start a new war, he said that in addition to blowing Nguyen and his subordinates, to celebrate his position as a bureaucrat, Jiang now realized Su Line is not in the office. He said that the line had said that in addition to investigating military recruitment, the Wujiang reported the case to Wujiang. With the previous admission, there was something to do. Suddenly, Du Hong had a supervisor's desk ready to go that evening. Jiang sent someone to his door. Didn't you guys take all the materials and leave last time? This time, the first person to use the parachute, he easily watched the video. The parachute broke into the security exhibition office. Oh, it's easy to know who is at the same level of tape, like a soul that can't be exposed. Oe was extremely angry because the parachute was sneaking up to do something semi-hidden behind his back. After that, Oe easily waited for the parachute line to return, to ask what he had taken from the exhibition room. Even if you don't really declare it, the wind will change you out of life. Zomsu said that Ozang would cooperate, but he suddenly turned away, causing Zomsu to feel a bit lost, and he followed the two into the confrontation room. Hua Zhang's people also quickly interrupted the audience of the school's auditorium and the school's noodle department to have fun. What Hong wants to know is what Zomsu brought back from your school's office. Zomsu replied frankly, that was because of the investigation of the case. After seeing what Zomsu had returned, no one believed Zomsu's words. The school district office confirmed that Zomsu had taken something away. Now, it's like pulling out a folder of documents. I admit I took this stuff when I was still working at my company. Help some people set up fake accounts to avoid fraud. The school's cafeteria is covered like an umbrella, and the pleasure of being able to book those who set up a fortune is because it is a transfer in the fruit of existence. So it's like even if you want to hide it. The bride and groom are not strange about the same thing, even though they have been in the same room for a long time and have never believed it. It's like opening up the fourth pole to see if it's possible. Unexpectedly, inside there was news from the police who had predicted that Dad's name was like an umbrella. The school department of the 4th department thought of reminding him, helping children push the suspicious case even though they knew something. The 4th department director immediately changed his attitude. He asked the school department to apologize to everyone. Because I've done something for you, I'll give it to you. The 4th department hastily pulled the schoolroom below. Du and he said Ngan didn't understand what was going on. After Du and left the room, he said that he was still angry. Why did he help you just now, even though you're the opposite? Have you ever won against those people? If you don't know some tricks, we won't be able to fight them. That's the reason why even here, It's easy to have courage and integrity but not enough courage. Although the storm will force that missing part, just trust me easily. 2 people can completely fly away all the darkness of the nation's life. It's easy to decide to join the guild if you can believe that they are behind the recruitment money. Quite 2 people will begin to cooperate. If not, the parachute line must come from the front and bottom. Although I'm confident I can do it. The girl's dark body was filled with promises of escape from the apartment room, immediately abandoned by the children. The girl prays for the salvation of the people. There is a good person who wants to call next door. The children poured in to taste the bar here. No matter how much people worry about their countrymen, no one will get along anymore. They dragged the girl back into the room. Inside, the sound of failed songs rang out. The girl's back pocket continues to disappear. The group of scammers who were blamed by the credit manager had a daughter who was also in the river. The girls only know how narrow the road is. Suddenly, the credit manager received a text message next to the posted price and brought her here. He immediately prepared in advance, letting his children decide for themselves the price of one of them, claiming to be the boy and girl from last night. The girl was always hanging out with other people, but they just made the people worry about the other girl's problems and didn't care. They took statements to complete the following procedures. The year of the year is also present here. The Department of the 5 Special Forces investigated the victims of the Thirsty Army and heard about the story that had just happened. Everyone immediately saw something unusual, and then decided to go to the police station every year to create records of incidents in the area according to police regulations. Such incidents often happen. The thugs used people to sacrifice their family members, using many excuses to attack the victims. But then the victim did not press charges, so it was very difficult for the police to deal with it. The police laughed and laughed. So many police officers who encounter such scenes know that many of them are police officers. Contacted them that in addition to the machine, they were also lucky to be able to get back to the warranty service at night. The other party knew that they were going to meet another victim, and they wanted the car repairman to give a statement about what the army did to him. The car repairman refused to cooperate with us and asked us to go somewhere else so he could work. Suddenly, the car repairman's mother left late at night. When the parachute flow came out, there was a military officer who reported to the soldier's mother when he learned about the parachute flow and learned that he was coming to investigate. The mother went up to get the iron, then called to meet the 2 people at the coffee shop. The mother wondered about the situation and decided, because she was sick and unable to work, the child had to pay for his studies alone. I have to earn money to risk my mother and I's survival. At times, I'm the one who gets the money from my subordinates to use the army and sand. For the first meal, I paid in full, and for the half of the food I borrowed a larger amount. Just like that, the amount of money became so high that the son could not pay it. He was harassed by many thugs, until his mother had to go to the hospital and tried to call the police, but was stopped by her son. He said he had an accident and his mother had to worry. Don Su and he Dang deeply sympathized with the situation of killing bad immortals when they received the message. Afterwards, he immediately changed his attitude. Because the mother posted a lie, I suspect the victim colluded with the bad guys to save chicken insurance information, then use that money to only look around the shoulder. No matter how much clever people harass you, the victim must also say he or she had an accident in order to receive compensation. The mother begged the parachute to call the police. Otherwise, the blunt-headed mob will strangle them. But the line, even though told to go away, luckily, it changes with the flow of umbrellas. The temporary dining party makes a big deal out of it. Although the line is unacceptable, a person who hurts himself to make more money does not accept his family knowing about it, but still let the victim do that. Fortunately believe that they have their own suffering. It must be the same way to complete it, although I still see there are better ways. 2 people disagree, so each person shares a shot. After that, the parachute thunderstorm came directly to the 13's office, under the safety of people of national life. The fools are still not afraid because they think the storm will come with money like everyone else. However, no matter how many people go down to take a car and set aside money to make use of the thirsty child, the bunch of idiots seems so confused. It's not enough to just ask them for a little bribe money. Although he said he needed a lot of money, the bastards are giving this. The other side is showing the video. The man stripped in the middle of the bar. Unexpectedly, this is PQB's old brother, was turned into a game by the mob at FIT. The leader of the mob at FIT is the son of the chairman of the board of directors and is also the current vice president. He was acting like he was crying, as if he was being asked to increase his father's offerings, even though the president is still alive, even though it's in the middle of many corporate specialties. Just like before, PQ still accepts it, right? Because this is not the main point to counterattack. This group at FIT who only knows how to play, and play is not harmful. Lawyer PQ is planning with the credit director to use the credit bureau's money, losing to the PQ group side. In one day, they took over the group. The director uses a large, narrow shelf to store plans for the outside crowd. The PQ attorney reminded the director of the credit department to protect the military until the end. Master PQ completed the final step. Be dinner, he said that going to the restaurant would be difficult for my husband's family as he didn't come. The boyfriend's parents wanted to say that the person who came down to talk did not approve of their relationship, because it feels bad that she doesn't want to be a relative. She doesn't have a father, only a mother. They wanted to say that they would quietly move away from their son so that they understood and accepted the request. Even though I was a little upset, on the way back I found myself crying in the rain, because I felt that life was unfair. My father told me to stay away from him. I'm glad that I still have a mother who always loves me. Even when she was just a child, she was determined to stand alone and move on. If you cry, you have to go fill your stomach and suddenly receive a call from an umbrella. Asked the district to quickly go to the hospital. Even though he had found a girl who was surrounded by the military, she was kindly treated by the staff, MSA, who let her stay in the room even though she was very different from other people exchanging money. But he also couldn't secretly tell that she was too young to understand all the good things in the world. Even though there were many rental cases, he was able to rent an apartment. There is no one more suitable for a girl's inner circle than after arranging a place to stay, and in addition to buying food. The speculation calls for the simplicity of the truth. I wonder if there's anything else you want to say to me, girl? Even if you think about it, you'll know that just saying goodbye was his words of encouragement. Losing it doesn't mean she's not worthy. Sometimes you lose it so you can find something better. Just like when there is the most lonely and arrogant person, there will always be a bright person ready to reach out to her. That person in the midst of the storm realized that she pulled the parachute out of the abyss when he lost his only God. Now, even if she does the same thing, she will die at the hands of the person she loved with all her heart. Or that it was like another person had embraced her when she lost her mind. It's the mother who I now know is the daughter of Radin. Mothers meet in the security season to buy self-use. The evening of illness last year, or that many only girls. Find a way for her to watch TV, and when there is a good program that she loves tonight. The girl immediately told me that she had a book, and after every meal she decided to take vitamins. But today my parents replaced it with sleeping pills, with the intention of going to heaven together as a family. The girl's boyfriend said it seemed like he knew everything but still decided to take that pill. I'm glad that my lover followed the plan of the prostitute who pretended to be his wife, drank the medicine and threw it away. That night, the whole family slept. It's a shame that if you're careful, it's easy to cultivate that in addition to sitting and watching TV, in your room, you'll be busy preparing food. The family said that if they wanted to do it themselves, it would be difficult to poison them. When he finally returned to the bedroom, the girl didn't wake up and the whole family did the first thing. There was a lot of talking in the stairwell, and then she didn't go with her family. Fortunately, what is right is all the more painful in the heart. Luckily, I cry and blame myself. If you don't believe what your girlfriend says, she was able to go with her family. When his blind mother was injured, he immediately encouraged her and said, and accepted her as his daughter and returned to reality, silently thanking his blind mother. If it weren't for her, I'm so glad that I'm free from life. It turns out that being alive is still a good thing. Remember the lucky worm and go back to see the car repairman, wanting to convince him to testify, saying that he wanted to use his own story of running away. The life of the parents wants to be with them. But she's still alive. She suddenly became like this. Everything is so funny. I think my parents are worse than other people, forcing the child to have only two options to choose from with his parents, or live with the devil, but hope to find a better solution. That's living against the odds and overcoming the odds. I'm proud that when I hope the driver will choose him like her. His attitude changed a bit the next time we met. The car technician promised to reveal everything. He has taken full advantage of the third way. It's like confronting your past history. He thanked him and said the car repairman did a great job. So he walked inside and told him. At this time, it was like a season of waiting before the dawn of the summoning. There's something I want to tell him. The summons is as unpleasant as an umbrella, but still went to the shop with him to get drunk. Even if you want to find out about the security incident to buy your own content. The security department's face immediately changed. He asked again, if I told you what you would do? It's been a year since I've been sick. Even though there was really no way, it was a mistake at that time. The barrier will stretch to these deep mistakes. Even though I don't want to leave out any details, the Trung security department still did not respond. On the contrary, there was a storm. It's best for you to stay away from blind concentration. If you don't want to put fire into your body, even if you don't feel any sympathy, look at the Trung and department below. After returning to the office, the same dude joined the year's cot. Everyone has been treated. Victims of siege by thirsty troops are all recommended by the bank below. The victim's head went to the bank to besiege her, but they said the victim did not qualify and give the victim the equipment of the thirsty army. Most of the victims are young and well-off people. Venture into the beach of the thirsty army. The employer leaned against the car and was thirsty. He didn't go to the bank to besiege, but a friend below introduced me to the army to hire this friend to work at the company under the bus. But the company drives luxury cars and wears branded clothes. If there is interest, the friend still offers the left hand. Is the lower lip for the money used by the army to cut the money he got from the Deputy Hong under the introduction. A colleague was about to remember. I've seen people with lower lips when they come to recruit soldiers to cut them all. The strange thing is the range of interactions between banks and companies under the car. All vehicles rush to the front station to recruit troops. The system lady has nothing to do with the statue. It seems that they are closely connected to each other. To confirm that this matter, even if you think about the goods, and the company will investigate. After that, the lie asked the officer to pretend to be a capital, and came to the line to ask for forgiveness. Most of the people who asked for pills had used the manager's love for the pills because it was very difficult to get them. The skillful use of military tactics for the captain has debts, so please come all together. After getting the information, a colleague called to inform her that she was extremely excited. That's like taking advantage of the government's policy to apply students and young people to difficult exams. Hurry up and get rid of them. The wind is nothing. In this meeting, those who lie directly will have to go, but those who use money to make people will always get many children. Not that I have to make them all pay. Suddenly, the Wind received a call from the 4th exhibition. Let's meet Sin and to talk next time the Wind arrives at the 4th exhibition. He reminded the Wind not to continue investigating the military credit case, but no matter what someone has done, he must do it to the end. He did not agree, so he stood up and left, forcing the 4th school official to fear that he would definitely have to cooperate. After all, he knew that he had never made any threats. On the contrary, it was the 4th officer who had to be afraid. In his hand, Zhongzhu was holding it for a minute when the 4th officer's face became confused. Pong After School Department 4 came to meet Zun. He has found something that can take him down easily. This was followed by a year-long price collapse, but there is a chance that leaving a short distance person is done. The name Dung can also control the situation comfortably. There are too many targets in one name, but behind it there are still experienced people living. The guy who uses many bureaucrats needs to be careful. He seems extremely certain with this move. After that, an article was posted on the internet, talking about the high-ranking tax department, bribing the victim so that the victim would not participate in the investigation, something that stemmed from Ozang's kindness, through malicious words. Turning into a self-dedicated person can't be released, and colleagues want to replace it easily, as a result of kindness being placed at the wrong time and place. Suddenly, someone from the supervisory board came to the 5th department. Wanting to extract favors from a corrupt investigator is extremely irritating. I know the guy behind me wants to target me. Don't touch my employees. The supervisory board is in charge. Bring that employee along. This matter won't end. Other things will come up. Easily receive calls from people without questioning. The general posted an urgent meeting without even informing him. He wanted to make sure that day came immediately because he predicted that something bad was about to happen. It turned out that this was a meeting where the leaders were forced to take advantage of their confusion. Recall the previous prophet of the attack. The Attorney General knew this was a Western plan but saw his arrogant attitude. In my heart, I was extremely angry. The previous semi-leader was still shaken. AP Bet Palmistry gives a beneficial explanation. Why hasn't the main character in this story arrived yet? The school department couldn't say anything. The fisherman pointed to the direction that the boss would soon have an answer and then leave. At this time, Oh Zhang went to the general director of the school, who was angry and afraid that he would say a word and go away. Oh Zhang wants to know what happened. Go up and find the deputy director of the metal department. The people in the alliance will probably hook Oh Zhang. Because of a little bit of his behavior, the whole school was caught and taken away. So how can we defeat the deputy director of Taedun Kim who is offering a solution? At present, Oh Zhang has come to a place where he feels he has put aside all the cases he is investigating. At the same time, he also tightened his grip on his subordinates and tried to find a way to deal with the situation. He was about to protest. There is a day-long study session. This is not a dress but a mother's rule that is forced to obey. At this time, the first explosion occurred. Like Su of Kong Thai sat in storage before he went to see the police. Investigating the case of 4 years ago, to ask him for some information. Like Sue using the police summons to accept bribes as a threat. Need to carefully monitor Mr. Daitong's entire career. Unexpectedly, the police officer of the police station revealed that he had discovered that he had been betrayed by the police station of the 4th police station. After the terrorist attack happened, the 4th police station came to the police station, sing or play on the base of an umbrella. However, campus police later saw the subordinates handed over the evidence to the 4th campus police station. The campus police did not know that it was something related to her father's reform. Although I am extremely satisfied with the information I have, I promise to use it well. Afterwards, the 4 termites came to the humus market. Even though he had planned to leave, even if he was angry with the killer, he couldn't decide anything. Lin quickly drove the car back to its owner. On the way to the forecall exhibition, many writers wrote articles outlining the past of the umbrella species. Tuong is a vigilante who has a career in the world and a citizen who deserves to work in the world. He forced the room staff to make a national sausage machine, but this was still in the calculations of the race. Even though he still came to see the members' room, he seemed to have defeated the true intention of the 4's exhibition. Then, like calling for an appointment, the 4 asked to arrange a meeting, even though the country never gave him a chance to refuse. The development of the 4 claws together with the tree. At night, the force of the old PQE reaches the limit with the Taedun. Han had a favor to ask, so he seemed extremely welcoming. Uncovering the past, QE revealed 2 names that could potentially be the president's door, because their job is to wait and pump money. In humans, the ratio of 1 whole is higher. This will become a place to wonder where the last name came from in the future. There will be a trial test coming up once a year to determine the name of the zodiac. Just need to help you spend your karma in the Book of Water Changes. They will receive a pretty decent amount of money. The guy did not agree because he felt suspicious. Why are these names not related to the PE key group? Lawyer P. Gwyn thought again that he was numb to the story of tuberculosis the last time he came to explain to him. NU is not a small person. Whatever is beneficial, he will definitely do a good job in the 4th round and the final round. Zhong Z is waiting here. He threatens the win Zhong Z. If you don't stop what you're doing, Zhong Z will die. Zhong Z is still not afraid. He often declared that he came here to defend himself and nothing could make him back down. Even though he was different from the 4th department, he had nothing to pay attention to. The 4th department was so angry that he took the umbrella. Suddenly numb, I walked over and walked into the office to talk. Zhong even took out the paper to talk about his promise, asking his youngest son to use it. The 4th bureaucrat suddenly moved his face, but he was numb and asked again, why do I have to add up, then use the first to use the thirst? The case was decided by the 4th department, but now that place is still operating. It's just that it's still open. Coordinate banks and car companies. This definitely has someone in the situation protecting it. The Department of Long Life could not hold back even if it kept its mouth shut. Even if the bridge is at the end of the storm, he will still drag a few people along. Having finished speaking, he stood up and left. Although I think numbness is also related to cutting, but in reality, this is a long-term affair that 4 leaders did behind his back. Accidentally, I discovered that in an ancient law book, PQE was given at Quanan also has a common name called Gongkut. He did not expect that the school department, Department 4-3 would collude with someone else. Going behind his back, the guy gave the school department 4 shots if he didn't solve this problem well. The school department and the 4th department can go first. The school department of the first 4 blocks apologized and then left. On the outside, he met a guy. He wanted to know why the 4th department defeated him. Still not willing to let go, I'd rather let the department lie about it for a long time and the 4 bitterly say nothing. Mr. Tar's goal is like a parachute. In the beginning of his life, all the years have come to fruition. After many days to a year, the staff discovered the Sands method of transferring money, which was to take advantage of the staff who relied on the car for a long time and then put the cash in the car with the recipient. With the coordination of the investigation, illegal business cases were gradually exposed. Even though she received the news, she quickly returned to the year to report. The events of the year were extremely strange, including the 4th special event here. He said that he was angry and questioned the river, because he had borrowed a large amount of money from someone else and helped them conduct a water test. This is the preliminary stage of the 4 productions, but the river is silent without explanation. Because he had decided to make a risky move before, he told him that he would let the machine fall apart in the water. We need an intergovernmental leader like you. No matter what comes, we will help him get the highest position. He said that the parachute river could be used as a cue. The first version was a bit rough, but now things have just happened. He didn't monitor the parachute line. He ordered the parachute line to be discharged from the 5th department. To everyone's surprise, But there was one thing that was unforeseen. Du Nong has asked to be transferred from the supervisory board of the 5th Department, or take the position of an umbrella order that has the obligation to use the troops of the orders even though they are working. Will also transfer the line to the Du marriage to handle. Even though it's unacceptable, if it weren't for him ending up, it would still make his co-workers quite uncomfortable, not wanting to marry without getting any benefits, and even though he's still hesitant. Let's keep quiet about the case. So many people have been abused and corrupted by the military, and even now we still can't give them justice. There was no need for the two of them to fight anymore when the doctor's office appeared, carrying orders from his superiors, and the case was settled for the final verdict. They also took all the political bases that the last year had gained, even though they were extremely weak. He pointed out that from top to bottom in the country, there was no one who was benevolent. As long as Zomsu's fellow defenders are present, he won't be doing well. Zomsu can't fight against a flock of sandpipers and intends to move away first. We will return to serve you. However, Zom still did not feel sorry to see Zomsu leave. She followed Zom's uniform. Zomsu's success. Zoms didn't care anymore. Even though the owner went away, she changed the Zomsu matter and she didn't mention it anymore. But why do you let someone like the king of the capital, a citizen of the capital, sit around looking at the Zom's room, let alone ask the clown Zoms? How can Du-hung continue to talk? Luckily, the group avoids me one day. Then, fortunately, when I returned to the office, I discovered that even though I had finished packing my things, I was wondering, could he just protect himself and go? There is no other way to do it now. The group must fully understand and accept it. Fortunately, there is a question why the parachutes are searching for the thirsty trade. If you don't discuss it with everyone in advance, you won't just get lucky and ask questions. All members of the team have questions. Although we cannot give them any advice at this time, I only know how to ask for help. I'm extremely concerned about the fate of my wife's father-in-law, who is the president of an umbrella company, a small branch of the PQ group. After the daughter's character, the relationship between the two is like water before fire. My father-in-law asked me to stop so that Du-hung could go back to work on the truck to set up the parachute. The evil man does not want to greet the young man walking on the path of the numb. The National Hiring Department is full of scoundrels and sick people. Especially my father-in-law, sick people like us. It's just helping those sick and stupid people who want to implicate their father-in-law's company. If he hadn't heard about it for so many years, the car would have been stuck even though it wouldn't have stood up properly. His father-in-law was so angry that he had an injection of pain even though he was still smiling. Ceremony of the scholar and the end of the white branch. His sister-in-law came to meet Duong. Even though they talked, he felt that Duong was having a hard time. In life, there are always huge feelings of loneliness, forcing people to betray each other. The guy still has to flow everywhere on his remote job. I don't know if I can win the second round or not. The first parachute guy's wife stopped worrying about the alarm and went back to taking care of the vehicle's parachute position. There will soon be a periodic stability check, at which time the vehicle's parachute position will be difficult to avoid flying hands and wind. Even though he said it frankly, he wouldn't back down and let his mother-in-law ask for the translation himself. His sister-in-law took out a phone call that contained the content of the bribe. If the user does not withdraw from the company to avoid the investigation, the driver will lose his job in the country. Be obedient and go back to your car and turn it on even though you're working but you're not worried at all. The next day, the monk went to see the monk PQE and asked him to apply to build the parachute. But Master P has one condition. The mother must ensure that nothing happens to her child's life. Numbly, I feel the strong smell of the kestrel. Master P returned and did not want to expose himself, feeling extremely angry after returning to the office. It's a shame that the Reverend P was accused of being an enemy of the people. He also called for regulations for the 4 events. Welcome all related units to PQE group. When the vice chairman learned about this, he was angry and had no intention of planning to destroy it. Taizun could not summon PQ's agency. Trin was turned around to respond, waiting for both sides to disagree. If you are defeated and injured, you will miss out on benefits at this time when storms are everywhere. Where he did the job, he went to another processing company to ask for more space. A few Z fruits were punched until they turned pale. Little did I know that I would rush to the hospital, but Storm Z had already gone home. He didn't want to come back before Storm Z, but he didn't call to open the door. The paratroopers were with their boots and spears lying in the 4 military rooms holding anyone who was okay. The paratroopers continued to act. He went to the vehicle company and picked up a nest box, then dropped it off at a designated location. Even though Tuong knew the Cho company's exploits, he continued to repeat his previous actions. The car employee felt strange that this guy didn't want to do anything. Another side of the conversation took place. Regarding the case of using the Sand Army, The School of Defense argues that the five beasts keep the love of the Sand Army. Posting is unreasonable because they have no evidence to prove it. Calculate the military usage of these spaces. This person, who is Firestar Insurance Company, last year found a book company that said he was in debt. According to general speculation, there was a spirit army coming to use the Sand Army. If this is confirmed, it will prove that the amount of money owed was transferred to cut corn and used as illegal loan money, which was an obvious loss of money and will not be known to the world. The Pak family's homeroom seemed frightened, and immediately the army went to investigate. In fact, the Khan had received orders from the Noodle expedition. In order to conduct a routine investigation, the company left out all the important details, but because these were legitimate companies, the company still had to accept it. Customers collude with company owners to help these places lower their capital levels, so that they don't have to pay a lot of tax money, so that they can save some money. Meanwhile, the investigation was so special that they could only investigate based on the documents she brought back. Therefore, no useful evidence could be discovered. At this time, the director calculated the final orders for the thugs, convincing the victims to cooperate with the crime, relied on bullets using extraterrestrial execution. The girls knew that the girl was staying in Marsa's room, and also knew that she was with her like an umbrella. The kids followed the trail to the hospital, leaving them to ask the staff, "Have you seen any girls like that?" The staff didn't recognize the girls, but instead recognized it like an umbrella. The girls immediately went to the place that looked like an umbrella. On the other side was the girl who was out shopping. "Wherever I received the security guard's call, someone came looking for me." The girl felt strange, hearing the guard's description. She quickly realized that they were a group of thugs. The girl was scared and ran away. The engine had time to turn on the toilet before the group of soldiers changed the winch, and at the same time another group of soldiers came to the buyer below. But the Khan's first place was tight because revealing his whereabouts caused a lot of confusion for them. So the military leaders took information from the car officials, scared that he came to find him, put the bag and the staff to use it when the mother arrived. She rushed to stop the girl from taking over the bottle, and rushed to attack her mother, who was angry to find a position. Leon told the girl and her daughter to reciprocate the affair, after which the car handler and her mother were arrested and taken to the police station to be told that they were legitimately defending themselves. But they also killed people after hearing it, so they hurriedly finished calling even though they went to the police station. The police officer begged for the lives of the two people to help them, and they absolutely did not want this to happen. Even though he was extremely angry at all the crimes that came from using military force, he was determined to end this matter. The next day, even though it was time to attend the meeting, he was charged with the crime of besieging the army and the sand. He said that the order would be allowed even though it wanted to turn the meeting into a public internal investigation. First, the parachute line exposed the probe. ANC has to be surrounded by the situation of using a thirsty child, amounting to 2 million. Even if you don't just use that money, everyone in the world will be suspended from work. Create opportunities for yourself to act freely, but also use 2 cham true. Gather about 5 bikas from the uses related to thirst. Based on the principle of mango capital, people come to rent cars from rental companies. Use it as collateral to surround the companies that are using it. Even though the street is facing a traffic area, it must be natural. But before the company develops, uses, or presents the vehicle. Zong tried his best every move after receiving 5 mice. Although Zong immediately disappeared without hiding his debt, leading to the Mino dollar effect, companies started to develop technology related to coal and produce. What does the number 5 MIT mean? Defensive research ability is a part of working capital resources. Those credit companies are more qualified to receivable than those credit companies. There were also a few tricks by the people involved. This company does not belong to the child's logic. According to the calculation of the application, the number of credits obtained must be 1 point, but the pack room only collected about 8 million war million. One is that the goods have been cheated. It's funny that this product is commonly used at standard credit companies. Perhaps the pack room will fight against it. Han Thuk Chuan said that there is no evidence for the use of thunder varieties. Right when the company owner finished the siege, he gave bribe money to the French police department, but he was still punished and hated for all his assets. This time, the school's final words. The Flood angrily declared the law enforcement school was suspended from receiving the investigation. She won't look back, even if she's jealous of her co-workers and made a mistake. After the supervisor arrived, even though she loved him the most, the French school is considered to have ended its life, praying for life, calling for help. But he was still worried about himself and was about to be eliminated from the game. Even though he turned to look at the noodle department director, now it was his turn to rely on the music on the cars. Like even though he discovered a white car that frequented the company for a shoulder. This is the noodle department chief's car. He pretended that he was just going to check. Just like I guess the previous director had a connection to the noodle department directorship. He gave the noodle department chief a chance. Contact that person. Ask him to bring the shoulder contract and wealth book here. Then I will ask you to think about returning the money. It's not a small number to say. Although the storm also gives the fourth employee a chance. If they send me money to use the thirsty army, did you accidentally hide any related books? Just tell me and you will be released. If the bet is discovered, then the fourth match will have no way out. The fourth staff all became worried. The podium led the four soldiers back to their offices. He reminded the staff, even if the road is rough, otherwise they will be murdered. The fourth employee became confused and didn't know which way to choose. On the other side of the capital, the soul meets the ocean. In front of the judge, he made a risky move. Isn't it true that the soldiers will fly away tomorrow night? The umbrella line is still very supportive. These are the lowest points to expose the face of the whole family. Even if they have to sacrifice, then there won't be any more victims in the future. Du Sol means to guide each other with the parachute line. Just when the clown came in, I didn't understand why the capital was so worried about the umbrella line. In fact, he is also a person with a moderate salary, so it is his turn to question the river even though he is guilty. Why do you keep taking risks without warning my colleagues in advance? Even though I contradicted what I had just said to the couple. Your goal is only one, forcing evil people to endure punishment. Later, everyone returned to the office and discovered numbness there. Department of Schools and Departments of 4 took advantage of the opportunity, requesting the reinstatement of the An and Con Cac department from the 5th department. But originally, the first table of security was the 5th department. 2 years ago, the driver said that he definitely didn't want to investigate. If the termite receives it back from match 4, the user will tell the victim to give it to match 4, saying that it is an impure karma. Truly speechless, Dung decided to make a request card for the 4th exhibition. Everyone in the year has a warm wish to get married, because it's too big to have hands and eyes. After that, Dung and the other 4 went into the office to talk privately. Even though he re-announced the sentence for the 4th exhibition, it did not mean that he had truly forgiven the 4th exhibition for treason. It's just that the numbness has completely blinded the edges of the ground. The dough has to stay in one piece for 4 pieces, to use for a rather simple purpose. The solution for the 4th school department, that's finding a fake credit manager. At the same time, he made contracts for roles and fake books. When it came time for the family to defend themselves, the 4th department expressed gratitude. But when he was about to leave, the 4th department immediately changed its attitude. On the other side, the 5th department gathered to discuss the next direction. The couple decided to keep going, because he thought there was no way the 4th department would definitely take advantage of the opportunity to file the case against them. Not only was he disappointed in himself, but he was also disappointed in his father, who continued to persevere and never give up. They are in the 4th department and will go find the director to remind him where to sign. The 5th belly always intends to sell according to the forequarter market. At night, the 4-year-old department is outside. This year, 2 bureau employees will go first, like parachutes, and will go one day behind, in case they are separated from each other by the school department and the work is beyond their expectations. The school department, the vermicelli department, discovered that the year department followed up. Related to a clean customer, he dialed up the phone. The yearly bureau officer followed and disappeared. The noodle department had already told him to go outside, so he took a taxi and continued on his way. Up here, the thunderstorms and winds will not let him down. They followed the vermicelli department to a restaurant. Here, the vermicelli bureau met with the credit director. She plans to find the cause of her teacher, but unfortunately she will be defeated outside, although she introduces herself from the world. If the staff does not let them in, they must still check the status of the restaurant. The frightened staff pulled the 2 inside, believing that they were one step closer to the battle. Whether the credit governor is planning to go or enter, that is the decision of the 4th exhibition. He looked very pleased and immediately turned back to the receptionist. Does the restaurant have any other exits according to the staff's instructions? Thunderstorms and thunderstorms come to the car tunnel. Bin in the reduction of the credit limit just got in the car and drove away. Even though he stopped her, the hat changed in the same way, because you've noticed a reduction in usage. After that, the 2 returned to the office where they were assigned to carry PQ's luggage. Duong seems to be hiding everything in his chest, even though he immediately remembers the story of the government. The old power of the PQ caused him to call and chant. After that, I searched for all the data related to the PQ group. That year the beast was born. Despite being extremely angry, all the sufferings that people face, they all cost the coins in the middle of the vase. Zhongzhu decided to do something. But this country easily came to find Zhongzhu. He thought of an effective way, which is to celebrate the power of communication, calling for justice for the victims of the fish. The government will certainly not let this be printed. Which unit actor gets the people to drink for him? Having the right to investigate the case after everything they have done forces the school to have a strong belief. The victim will put hope in life. It is not out of the question what will happen as soon as the news is spread. Because of his honor, he came to meet Taizun. He is one of the 2 presidential candidates. The honorable person is someone who follows humanitarian standards and does not accept the sight of people being oppressed. Because honor fake requires Western Zone, Lam followed the victims' minds so that the case could be investigated using those comparisons. Taizun called the exhibition of 4 to the office and showed him the newspaper that had been posted. Everything comes to this step. Deng asked the bureau to file a case or return the case to the bureau. Very quickly a press conference was opened. He said that he would work with the department to handle the case well, and he also apologized. If he had not been so uncertain 2 years ago, he would not have caused so many people to be harmed. Even though I know I will be hindered, but he knew that this would be the starting point for his political career. Although Zhong once told him that he would push him to the highest level. In order to deal with all the small things in the country's life, the first thing you have to do is to admit your own mistakes. On the one hand, the vice president called by QE to the office. After hearing about the story of using the rich, he was already investigating. The vice president beat the old PEQE several times for misusing PEQE's money. In order to establish the 13, that didn't mean anything. A rule of the old PEQE still denied the crime, but the vice president decided to remove the charges. He, at this time, was carrying an umbrella and said he came to see the traffic officer to check on his situation. The traffic officer wanted to thank the 2 of you. With the help of people and intelligence, they were able to find proof of his mother's role. In the end, the bus driver also understood that he should not accept the shop in exchange for money, because there are still a lot of people around who care about you and say you're extremely happy. After that, hey, it was like walking around, reabsorbing what had just gone through. I'm glad that even though I know more, it's good. After escaping from the first group of people last time, the girl went to live in many orphanages and was taken care of very well by the villagers. Even though I feel happy for the girl, I hope everyone can find joy in life and stay calm even though they still have work to do. When I met you, I met the 4th school department, and the line even transferred 20 coins to him, saying the return line to find the advantage of using fish like this is not only changed by the green heads, and Duong will also kill him. The school department will reach the end of the road. Please give me a better way to continue going out. Chuang agreed to a condition of returning the evidence he had obtained from the police. If you sell the first piece, the 4th piece will still be coconut. But when the parachute said that he knew who the hero was, the 4th school district no longer needs children, because sooner or later that person will leave him. Department of Trung, Department of 4, issued a coat of arms. But the good guy at the scene burst into conversation between the 2 of them. It's all wrong. He only learned the true purpose of the parachute line when he arrived at the 5th department. Then the parachute came to meet the uncle. You don't have to deal with him directly, but just drink and talk together. By the time the parachute returns, I just pretended to receive a shredded shirt on the ground. Deng's name immediately changed. It was the shirt his late wife had given him. Even though I still accept my guess, Deng's name is a fatherless man. After that, even when arriving at the scene, there will be an accident. Based on the account of 4's events, even though I can still imagine the evolution of my father's case, after the 4's journey to meet the paratrooper, how to let him know that even though he is keeping the register, the bastard came to find his father, even though he tried to beg him. Being in love is something that has been around for a long time, but I gave him one shot to kill him, even though not only did he not come out of the window, but also recorded the conversation. Get more by the name itself. After that, my dad got back in the car to go. I didn't expect that guy to follow him. My lover's father used a car to make a fool of himself, made him chain the tire to the car because he couldn't cut the guy's thigh. Suddenly a bad boy appeared on the street. Dad done suo. He avoided his son more and rushed into the barrier. The saluting car officer rushed into the middle to force the Zun guy to get out of the car to check. Father Zong Suo begged him to ask his mother to take advantage of the opportunity that Zun wanted to take back the recording that Father Zong Suo gave him. As if the Zun's greed didn't stop there, he changed the water from the anvil. Suddenly, when I was with Dad, the 4 notebooks were completely torn apart. Zong Suo's father grabbed the Zun's shirt button, but the Zun didn't notice. He will leave the scene, ignoring his father, even though he will kill himself. Returning to the stormy reality on the road with an empty stomach, the person he and his father thought of the most turns out is a cruel person. even though he's trying to think of a plan. He stood like the god in the middle of the road. Sip is infested with them. Fortunately, the market is stormy even in gloves and socks. Not that he knew the storm's purpose even when he entered the distant world. That's the meatloaf for Dad. Even though my stomach is full of thunder, his colleagues in the 5th department will not leave him behind. But this is extremely dangerous. In fact, I don't want anyone else to see lies, saying that I'm lying even though I trust her and everyone else. Thank you for your enthusiasm. I still need more time, please. Another party after the PQ group's plan to use their intelligence to capture pawns was exposed. Turn over the old PQ calling the place. In-person handle all related subjects. Then, perform local legends and water to control the evidence. The first person to get shot was the credit director when he returned that day. Found out there are 2 shelves. This is the ancient force of assassins sent by you. To keep the credit director from being identified, the credit director needs to be careful to avoid assassins. Then he returned to the room to prepare and pack his things, but he hadn't left the room where the assassins had ordered him to go to the bathroom. The director immediately took charge of the poison and walked out of the bathroom a few seconds later. His thick thighs were still sticking and pushing him apart. Try not to let the supervisor force you out again. A subject has been dealt with. At that time, the 4th department received a heavy text message informing him that someone would come to visit him. The school department was scared and took the car back, with the intention of packing up and leaving the place. On the way, he discovered that the car had a red leg. In the end, the 4 cars were lucky and he only suffered minor injuries. Later, the rescue worker came to the car and told the police that the car had been tampered with by someone else. Cu Trung Cuc Bun thought about coming to Tae Bun because Tae Bun had told him before, if the plan fails, Trung Cuc Bun Ace must die, then Trung Cuc Bun. If we go to Tae Dun and give birth to him, I will give him a mother, but the wind says it's not Tae Dun's hand, he thought to himself. Who is the one who is about to open his arms? The warden and his people. Westerners must definitely find the price for this person over there to be happy and complete the umbrella, but overheard the conversation between the school and the noodle department. Oh Jang knew the true purpose of the parachute, which was to avenge his father. Oh Jang is not sure to look like a sign, but everyone else wants to look like it. But I don't agree. Just like an umbrella alone is enough. Oh Jang decided to keep himself clean to go further on the political path. Just like the parachute will help him do that. The world must have a leader with integrity. New people can have a peaceful life. Oh Jang understood the good intentions of the parachute. He also doesn't want to argue anymore. Even though Bisang River went to meet his prosecutor friend, the prosecutor instead received a call with a serious accusation, and suddenly the agent arrived in Europe. The prosecutor did not know that this was a bank conducting an investigation into a line related to the use of fish resources, so he wanted to remind the river to help. According to the whistleblower story, at the Sangchao Bank, there is a type of character called the parachute, up and down the businessmen who are not approved for loans, causing these entrepreneurs to go bankrupt. The total number of victims has risen to become a US rice prosecutor. Recorded voice chat for thunderstorms. Among them, there are few strong connections for the investigation, but he promised to try to find out. On the other hand, there are people who use some of Sancho Bank's features, who talk about giving things. At most of the accounts in the bank staff was extremely confused. As for why they went to eat, they were not in a hurry to admit the truth in the letter, but find out who sent the message. Through a few restaurants, I discovered an employee named Han. He is absent from the company every time he goes in and out of the office. The more reason is the more certain. The executive officer is a clerk and no one else. At this time, he easily came to find the deputy director. Her career allowed her to investigate the origin of the pearl. Because it is related to the nature of the child, the deputy director is extremely difficult to handle, because she is working in the countryside. The inner woman also has a close relationship with the ancient power of PQE. If we can find out who is talking about the nature of thirst, the political career of the Deputy Director General was also affected. The Deputy Director General also agreed to take advantage of the situation. After that, she went back to her room to think about what to do. But suddenly she received a text message from Trong. Today, he can't go out to eat with his deputy's wife. He called him to order tea for him. With one hand, she dialed Master PQ's number. This person, who was in charge of searching for action, felt helpless in her heart. After that, her number called the engineer PQ, then went home from the office, and then contacted the bank to release the employee. I wanted to advise him to defend himself, saying that what was written in the letter was not true. If the executive officer has completed this step, he can then disguise himself as the manager's consent and take out the employee's old records. It turns out that he is also a character, and the executive officer also charged with bribery. I felt like my secret was exposed. The staff agreed to the manager's request. Even though they are all people who make money illegally, the operator only has one question: whether there is any system to stop the barricade and use the cutting force. Quan Lai often admitted to him that it was a connecting line. Listening to luxury goods has never been enough to reflect the youth of people in the world of life. Conditions such as cutting will continue until after the employee moves out of the welder's house. Unexpectedly, he secretly recorded the entire conversation, accidentally interrupting the staff through the loudspeaker. When Quan Lai returned to search and wanted to save the welding staff's phone number, the two sides were destined to be killed, and soon the soldier was pushed and his head was broken. Lying still as if he was asleep, the operator was extremely panicked. He quickly pulled the suitcase and hid it in the back of the car. The operator can let the voice caller press the button to automatically bring the child into the house. Then they both disappeared without a trace. The next morning there was a meeting. Now the couple has gone to the front of the schoolroom, as if they wanted to be sent to the bank. Because I think it has something to do with cutting. This woman has not yet been approved for marriage, so the two of them went looking for a match. There are still many outstanding cases this year. The couple asked their colleagues to handle the situation for them, and they went to cover the disaster. Done even if you stay pressed, even though the kiss in the two investigators definitely won't understand you. The couple allowed the marriage to end even though they were proud to add a young lady and then returned to the office. He was angry with everyone's trust, took out his son's phone number, and made sure to prevent problems with the Zanchao store. After he promised to stop her from waking up, he didn't say he set out to investigate. However, even before they could leave, they suddenly received a call from a crew member, finished parachute and clown, that immediately went to Zanchao Bank, where the meeting was taking place. The father of the prosecutor's office was looking for a letter. She's a store employee, but now she's become a suspect. In a murder case, the police found 2 bloodstains in the restaurant staff's house. My brother and another person. These 2 people disappeared without a trace. The police report confirmed that the employee was not in jail, because when the accident happened, security cameras recorded footage of her helping her with money. The incident happened as follows: when the clerk suddenly smelled bad, possibly bribed money. An unknown person found out about this, came to the store staff's house. Both sides said they did not accept that the officer had murdered an unidentified person. After that, he came to ask someone near his house to help him with money. Then the money man left the place. The employee was very smart. He took the opportunity to investigate the bank in Europe. The bankland manager did not refuse. All staff were ready to assist the prosecutor. Similar, even though there are still many things that are contrary. After the end of the meeting, the parachute line and Hay met the DN Korn group member. No one else asked for the same thought as the parachutist line. They also loaded the goods that the store staff was the one who loaded them. The reason is to let the children force the 4th generation. The soldiers are just guessing. If they want to know about the damaged consciousness, they must find the store clerk or other unidentified person. Although, and he said they would take care of this matter, Dark Luke used to go to the restaurant to meet Tae Dun. The 2 people, who were previously in a cooperative relationship, are now like water and fire. The West uses the power of the past to Kui. I hope you're still in pain. The deputy director was the one who revealed the matter to the vice chairman of the BQ. He was very pleased with it. Even the next group of idiots will end up like this. The old BQ doesn't want to let this anger go. There are people listening outside. Unexpectedly, it was all for nothing. He returned to report to the deputy director, saying that the relationship between the old gang and the BQ gang was very bad. The deputy director saw this as a good opportunity to politely remind her, but it didn't work. But first of all, I'm sorry that the bank manager told me that I was also working there. If he were caught, his fate would not be unsettled. She has a headache. Afterwards, the deputy returned home and waited while he had just returned from going out. Lian Health met a partner today, very happy to return. The fate of drinking and knowing the benefits of old and precious things. She wanted to treasure a little piece of the old luxury farm. The insiders did not understand the intention of the deal and thought that his wife was forbidding him. The 2 wives here, asking for help. There was a long disagreement. She was angry and worried that people in the family didn't know what to do with her, but also sincerely concerned. In the morning, even though he was happy, he came to the telephone booth. The high-ranking person used to call the prosecutor's office. Luckily, the identity was this phone number, and the 2 searched around. Discovering a car at the opposite grocery store, the 2 of them learned from the driver's words. The car has been here for several days now, even though I wanted to borrow the black box on the car to check. Just as the line predicted, the person who sent the letter and the person who called high up to the company's office were the same person, the missing clerk. After that, The paratroopers came to Sancho's side and told the commander to watch the video. It is said that the main line of sales staff is a good person, and at the same time is a good person to the store staff. Anchor is the transformation of Sancho. There's no reason to bribe people to give up. Even the umbrella line still gives lines. The store employee was murdered to receive karma. Zhuan Nun changed direction of investigation. The governor of Minute Hang did not agree. The Khan believed that Song Zhuan was taking responsibility for the country's military. After thinking about it, I realized that the director was also being kept secret. I didn't want you to force me to reduce it because I knew it wouldn't work. After all, it's your right to investigate. The prosecutor still has to investigate according to the law. But surely Zhong Sui and the prosecutor will meet at a key point. At this time it's easy to go meet someone. No one is still connected to the bank, so he is already under suspicion, related to the disappearance of the cargo. Because this is a trick that he used 15 years ago in the case of the defendant buying dung. Quinn Wu easily just estimated that 15 years ago the case of the prince buying dung happened, leading to a series of franchise companies going bankrupt. The main reason is, they sent the bank to arrange a meeting of some money. Interbank money investigation. He only gave one person's equipment, saying that this is a hidden object that has taken bribe money from another party. Shake hands to make those companies go bankrupt. I wonder why I still know so much. Then he didn't say anything. Oh, I'm looking for a lot. Between the phone number above. Oh, that comes lost in man. Arrange a meeting with the manager to confront him. The man unexpectedly agreed immediately. But there was this meeting where he said, we'll have to give away his secret. The woman, on the day of her death, cannot reach out to a man. He came to contact the manager, asked if he had gone to the school or the school. The officer said he couldn't go. Oh, I suspect that the agent has done something secret. Oh, that many sides are suitable for men. But the main result was that he disappeared without hiding it from the man who took his disappearance with him, without the opportunity to confront. Back in reality, the welder is also in the same area.
Renner tham gia kun LNHN khn se chuyên trung HPN tu ln tơ cờ cúc bin mt tu nghi kia mun sen khai LJ.
Kun L Hu, the pants are still fake and unrolled. He told the group to ignore him. At this time, even though there was a storm, the clowns came to the green row. About greedy people here about welding staff.
Anh TT hi khn tân thít. Nân li LMT con nghi khn tơ cờ tân MXC ln mi nghi tên nhìn thi.
The welding staff turned on their superiors because they discovered that their superiors were not working transparently. It's been so long since anyone remembered its content. After that, the thunderstorm and the clown returned to the 5th department. The night the things just investigated were told to everyone. Colleagues also have new discoveries. The welding staff also has a younger sister who studies abroad. The $10 million bribe money I received in the afternoon did not pass on to my sister. The platform can be pushed through the air, but Zhong Para says, welding staff do not accept bribes. Because he is an honest person, the welder acts on his emotions. It is very easy for fire to enter the body in a storm, even if it is unpredictable. The person who withdrew money from the welder's account was another person. Because the police's security cameras couldn't record his face, there were 2 bloodstains at the scene. Possibly an unknown person had touched the solder. After that, the person who created the scene then ran away with the money. An unknown person stole the money from the employee. One is his relative. The other is someone who works in the bank. Help determine who this person is. At this moment, when Uncle returned, he turned back to know that he had just met a suspicious person. This case has nothing to do with the loss of class and the loss of office. Oh, that opened a lawsuit. The 2 people involved wanted to report Green Chow Bank. They all lost their secrets in the same way, which was to accuse them of bribery. Then he said that he was looking for a place to go. If we look deeper, then the problem of the welding machine would be better. This is a big problem since 15 years ago. World officials also received a lot of good things from the bank to Europe, but most investigations are inconclusive. Most likely there are still people in the world. Assisted the bank to go to Europe in order to change the cover story that he and his subordinates were divided into investigation teams for a job. The public director went from being a good applicant to the bank to Europe. Many people suddenly issue complaints. As soon as Mr. Ojang was introduced to the staff of the meeting, the director immediately became upset. Mr. Ta did not want to continue talking. Ojang had to wait until evening, so he thought the director would reveal a little information. The deputy leader behind Sancho Bank is PQ Group. Private companies are rumored to be withdrawing their capital by banks. One is to be bankrupted. The other is to accept becoming a subsidiary or sell production technology to PQ Group. Thus, PQ Group is growing stronger and stronger. Mr. Zhang realized that a few years ago, the prince's purchase of dung was not bad. but now they are also a small branch of the PQ group. Because he went to the bank employee's house to meet with the police, he discovered something unusual about the name of the bank's contractor. It wasn't the staff's business. Even though he wondered why he was bringing it back if it wasn't the contract he wrote, he immediately took out his phone number and copied it. Then, even though he realized that he was meeting someone who appeared to be the store clerk's girlfriend, she is also an employee of Sancho Bank. All 8 of them went to the coffee shop to talk. Now the girl has just told the story of how the guy once worked for this company and went out to eat together at the same company's house. After encountering fear of black gangs coming to exchange debts, Khan's staff seemed worried. As if he was talking about something, the girl was afraid to ask, only to find out that the Khan's landlord was a customer of the Khan staff. However, he refused to write the contract for this when the landlord came to ask. The Khan staff looked through their records, and he confirmed that there was no problem that the Khan's landlord was qualified to raise money. But royal staff member Han is a Cho character. Every day, the restaurant is destined to be an unapproved commercial enterprise. Han's staff still uses good words in their language. Even if you hide money from customers, tell them that you can pay as much as you want. Waited until the last minute before the bank backed down. One knows that local people are not besieging other places and are forced to accept the flag. The girlfriend knows that employee Han is a loser. The day she immediately broke up with him, she couldn't stand being married. We asked about other people's lives in a series of documents discovered at the welder's house. Ask your welding girlfriend about the name on it. Why it's not the welding staff's name. What does it mean to help? This lady is actually quite simple. Usually the customer's name is written on the contract. If the customer is referred by someone else, write the person's name below the referral. This is an extremely important strength. Jong-soo immediately returned to his bed and wanted to check other documents that identified the coordinator of a name. 2 is the name of Lian Teng Han restaurant. Although the seed gradually confirmed the first guess, it was reasonable that the person who killed looked at the cold stone. The target is determined. The next plan of the breed will be more clear. Like even before a lifetime begins to act, Du Hung has delivered a report to investigate the Vermicelli War. Ask him to deposit money for Zaxo Bank. The matter was dealt with by investigators, and then the bureau hired the bank manager. Come to discuss with the interbank network. The long life of the noodle is so bad that the mind continues to receive it all. It's just a matter of doubting that I have any real basis. As long as the interbank fruit doesn't usually accept the long bet, he's okay. The next day, the interbank came to present its records and the prosecutor was in charge of questioning. At first, I was very confused. Just like I expected the long journey, the Sioux River Group has no official base. Just ask for the lychee fruit. Let's see what his reaction is. However, he suddenly changed the subject. He spoke out and apologized to the police officer. The director of nearly every row immediately moved away, and the interbank was also made to be gender-based. Nung Dung said that the day before the incident happened, the store employee went missing. Lee went to his house and told the employee to confess. Because I took bribes, the next day, Lee didn't go to work because Lee Zor was a boy, so he had to stay at home. But according to information from the school, his still married son still attended school fully. Even though there were other discoveries, the store staff was at a loss. Over the past few months, the 2 of them haven't been in contact, even though it's assumed that both of them posted on the system. There's no reason to just give advice to employees. The tongue still went to the employee's house completely voluntarily. It doesn't matter what his position is, he already has a plan in place. Management began to get confused and tried to find a reason, saying that the employee should be a close junior and a secretive person to give advice. Although Thunderstorm took out 2 photos and several feet of lying words, he still lied. At that time, there were only 2 people at the scene who were still pretending to be welders. Let the person who creates the scene attract people to leave the place. Also, there were dozens of cases where the police cleared up after escaping from a vehicle. Han did not return to the welder's house but went straight to the hospital for treatment. Records in the hospital will record the time. If there is any reason to waste time, the scene creator and the tank will set up the scene. Time will definitely go wrong even if there is no chance of love. He took the story of 4 years ago when the price of the steeljack was crazy, even though it was still reasonable to ask. Did he hide Vin Han's body in the same place as the Tajiak man a year ago? And Lian Bat was confused and went to the company to give them to him. The union member is not only talking about the heavy green wound next to the Zantro row, but also gave documents found at Vin Han's house. They all showed up and gave the name of the Mandarin. This was the correct information about the Mandarin sentence. He pushed Vin Han to reveal the truth about the character even though wanted to take the opportunity to push all the faults onto Vin Han. The prison officer showed 2 more photos. One of the bloodstains in the photo did not belong to the latter. Management's psychological statement room is completely emotional. The store manager stood outside the facility. After completing the parachute and park, management immediately began explaining that I'm really going to have a conflict with the store staff. During the conflict, the manager was injured and fainted. The store clerk from him is dead. Determine the direction of increase in vision. The manager regained consciousness and took the opportunity to attack the restaurant staff, but they did not kill him. After looking at the clerk, the two agreed that the clerk would take the responsibility of accepting bribes on behalf of the manager, but still did not find the manager. Just 5 years ago, the leader of the group, T-Bay, at first felt comfortable looking at him like that. Kwong Lai always affirmed that he did not help anyone, saying that a man committed suicide a few years ago, indicating that he sees a way with the victim's family. At that time, the man was also a good character, helping his son by dung law. After the incident that Mr. Ta discovered, a family member came to the village to buy a self-destructive bodyguard with his young daughter. The man felt very conscientious, so his lips thought of the substance that could lead to dozens of crimes. The theater is in a state of chaos, like an umbrella suddenly changing tactics. He knows that observing reason doesn't help people, just like even wanting to use things to help people. In order to stimulate him to speak secretly about things, I suspect the management and coordination are quite good. When he realized that he was being chosen, he ended up being arrested because he accepted illegal bribes, and the hair had a negative impact on the business. Then the store manager immediately informed about the noodle development. The report of the investigation into the number of people doing this is one thing, the journey of Noodle to find the number of marriage partners. As a result, he was provoked by the proud side of the kiss. Now the husband wants to be a good person and will stand on the side of life. At this time, he decided to look for employee Han's girlfriend, because even though there was a new discovery, the writing on the beads was originally approved by Han staff. Unlike the writing above, it's a letter to report and the fake story is spread out. Everything was done by the Korean girl. The Korean girl started trying to accept everything. With her, the happiest time in life was proposed to by the welder on the rampart. The most gloomy time was when my righteous father passed away, and 5 one-year-old girls. One day, after finishing school, she happily returned home. As usual, Dad hasn't come home from work yet, but today this Korean girl discovered that her father's shoes were in front of her. She looked for her father all over the house and found out that she had seen her father commit suicide. At that time, the merchant was still young and didn't know what to do. She only knew that his father was crying. She always asked the question, why did his father leave her? Later, when the merchant grew up, she learned the truth. At the restaurant, she met a group of people in debt. After hearing that the merchant was throwing things, the merchant tried to find out. Through the application at the Green Bank, she discovered the company. His father is also a victim. The woman is probably still involved in the crime. The girl is talking about this to the police officer. Initially looking at the police officer, promised to confess and not reveal all secrets about Sue's character to the police. Girlfriend, just give him some time. The waiter will wait. Even though he was faced with a girl who was a relative of the victim, still can't make a decision. That evening, the reason and the welding staff will come out to compete. Korean girls are also present there. She thought that using the bottle would make her fight against it reasonable. The employee was very careful under the threat of the Korean employee's mother's fate. Will stand up and take the blame. A hot girl likes to play very much. After continuing to hang out, a hot girl will show her magic. She kept planning to kill the bottle. Everyone knows what she did after that. The girl is eager to get revenge for her father and sings for happiness in life. However, she had nothing to apologize for but had to pay a heavy price for the girl who was so angry that she was about to leave. Luckily, I felt sad about her story, then never returned to the office to sleep. Discovered that there was an envelope on the village inside which was a newspaper. Not knowing the truth, Nguyen for Wok all investigated the case of trying to buy self-use as Ozang. Luckily, I immediately stepped up to investigate. Discovered that the article claimed to be a waste of a trial version of the year the company revealed it was an investigator, while the article she posted had. It is the first published version. Luckily, I immediately went to find Ozang to confront him. The most painful thing in the exchange of luck is that it is the person who cheats on his parents and girlfriend is his superior. Ozang does not give any favorite teachings. Unfortunately, I can't continue to look at Ozang's face. She decided before the storm of the marriage exchange, but she didn't appreciate it, so she immediately asked about it. When the honor arrived, she didn't realize that she had forgotten her address and was about to call the car battery office. The thunderstorm seemed to call for love to appear, helping him pay for the car. He didn't thank him, and even turned off the line even once. Who let him follow me? Although he was extremely surprised, He was not sure because he understood that she was participating. Not knowing that the direction would return to the umbrella line and then go down, he still stubbornly followed, on the other side of the umbrella to investigate the management. He had completely regained his love and reasoned that there was no evidence, so he went to find him to confess and only needed to keep his mouth shut. He still has a chance to get away with it, but is not a normal person. He once killed someone to investigate. This matter was reported publicly. The reason is scary, but in reality it must be the truth. This is still considered a transparent way to market UI. However, there is no reason why he would marry his fake family. It's just a shelf of something I have to lose. He will do anything to reveal the truth. Unlike other reasons, there are many concerns. Faced with the hypocrisy of evil, and the people's banking system is shaken. At that time, Deputy Director Kim was also watching the incident of the bank in Europe. She came to see the director saying that she was in business because Deputy Director Kim worked at the Chow Chow Bank. So she was interrogated, and Deputy Director Kim wanted to assassinate me. But from Oza's point of view, it is completely possible to avoid being enlightened. There is no need to join in because the views of the Sutra and Oza are different. There are things she has to do to make her business classier for the world. Because Oza does not want to move, he will leave. Decided to release the information to the media, but he also said that the leaders of the country were also involved. With so much strength in the middle, Oza will hopefully not be able to be pushed around easily by children. Naturally, his actions angered his superiors. The first person to mention it was Tezen. He told him that when it came to the department, Tezen could ignore the publicity, who then had to take the risk and buy small. Moreover, as a superior, Tezen had never received a warning about the bank going to Europe incident. How was he supposed to explain to Mr. Trung? He said that he still calmly answered the way. He advised Tezen to explain as he had told him. Only now did Tezen realize Mr. THA is out of his control. Zun only has 2 cards left, which is Mr. and the 4th boss. Everyone said that they would not continue to hesitate. He went to think that he would transfer the case to her department. Hearing that, he said that he would start negotiations. Leaving the bank again was just part of the plan. Behind Zancho Bank is PQ Group. The case to buy self-use will be open way to do lies release vegetables PQ manipulation. Starting he that thought. The name Zun cooperates with PQ Group. But Hoa Jia Deputy Director of Swords is the bad guy. She is the one who colluded with the PQ. It seems like is trying to make the Zun name suspect again. The name Zun was used as a joke over the past year. But in fact, the name Zun was not original from the beginning. There is also a reason why Mr. Thu became the original crocodile. His target was the Deputy Director of the Sword, not only exposing her true face. O'Day still wanted to clear his name and Zun. Even though Zun still remained the same, he turned to him and agreed to let him continue the investigation. On one side, the School District 4 came to install a thunderstorm parachute. After the mission, the father's name was called a thunderstorm parachute. Although the storm helped him escape the murder case, the 4th Department quickly became happy. Even though he was cleared of the murder case, he was caught in a scandal despite being accused of corruption. This book is about to be blown away, and a disaster will happen. The 4th officer's face started to turn a little pale. He quickly ran to find the Western Union to ask for help. At this time, Tae Zun was very calm. He called the 3rd school director to his office, planning a timely investigation of the PQ group. The 4th Police Department arrives, being beaten outside the door by the 3rd Department. Someone said, Tae Zun doesn't want to meet the 4th Department. If he doesn't want to spend a long night trying to get a company to file an application in front of the 4th School Department, it will be a lifetime. On the other hand, take PQ's pass to meet the Deputy Director. He has a dangerous rivalry with Tae Zun. Knowing the past, Tae Zun will not miss this opportunity to investigate the situation with the PE group. Currently, only the Deputy Swordsman can resolve the situation. Stripping away her past efforts, she will stand up and let her face the fight somewhat hesitantly. Stripped off the old P and took her Dezo. If you don't want to face a loss because of the problem, then look inside and help him solve the crisis. The Deputy Swordsman had to agree, so the two teams had to think of a way to deal with Tae Zun. So, in a hurry, what was the problem that made these two big characters so upset? Now, under Tae Zun's rule, they forced the three to start changing positions towards the 12-second karma of the PQD group. This is the biggest event in the past 5 years. Both experts predicted PQD group will soon be unable to overcome the odds in the battle between Tae Zun and PQD group, like using money to persuade H-Sang to return to work. However, H-Sang gave all sorts of reasons before deciding not to be called back to the 5th department. It's like suddenly remembering the car payment you paid for the car, but that's what I'm thinking, like even if it's calculating. Immediately transferred 12 to him. thinking everything was fine, but still suffering for the second half of life. He pretended to be preparing to transfer money even though he said that's not what he meant. Like even though he wanted to take the chance that he owed money like her, he would decide even though his religious work had a plan. You can use the plan to exchange for 2 notes, like inviting all kinds of things. In the end, he had to agree to help, even though he couldn't stop the work when he started. The plan had just been made. After finishing, I arranged another job, but I continued to work until I was crazy, waiting until the next morning. Even though he had just called in, he thought that, even though he was about to prepare vegetables for a new job, in his heart the thermos came, but he changed his attitude, and couldn't help but pray that when it came time to complete the resignation procedure, he would know that no matter what was on his mind, the other side of the box was holding a file of documents. This is why the wind avoids the tea given to him. Because of the big event in the store, a small profit group is made up of a number of car companies. It is now possible to identify the luxury car company as one of them, the luxury car company as the company of the Western father-in-law. Up to now, the government has also more or less participated in the store. According to the investigation, the continuous bankruptcy of the related companies was determined by an insider in the store behind the manipulation. At the luxury car company, they will probably keep a record of the record. As long as they get the record, they can expose their cards to take advantage of the Westerners. At this point, the tea seems to be as high quality as Ozang, and is reported to be the main source of the series. Trying to stimulate his curiosity, but they had to change the name to the next one. But with his intelligence, the line of parachutes in the branch can guess. This is the main report of the branch of the parachutes. Although speaking is a powerful weapon to calculate success, but even if you don't, you should be happy because of that. If you get a funeral, you have to be more careful with your prediction. Peel off the old Pier 2 with the Deputy Department of Kien and the Department of Development of Vermicelli. In order to gain hatred for Tae-dung, even when the job is done, use the Assistant Department 5 to deal with Tae-dung. That is truly the best choice. Jong was still a bit unconvinced, because the main report appeared to be quite simple, like a puzzle, wondering who is providing the data and what is the purpose. Because whether the wind avoids becoming T at the same level, even though avoiding becomes T holds the middle point of the car company set up an umbrella, seemingly unable to act on their own. Even though the race considers the entire situation of the country, it can only see that avoiding Than Tra is a capable person. Received a report at the main parachute vehicle. He had been undercover for 15 years, just to bite the numb spot. At that time, even though he was also in business for 15 years, to find evidence to justify your father, you must have complete information. He just took action. Even if you are truly worthy of being someone you should trust. Even though I met everyone, forcing my age was just an excuse. He advised me that I should not find a room in advance to write about that year, to ask about the status of the family's case. After that, the best thing to consider is staying or family. Even though I've done my best, we just have to wait and see how it will be chosen, since it will take a long time. Finally decided to follow the same umbrella. She called the prosecutor's office to inquire about the case of attempted drug trafficking 5 years ago. The call recalls painful memories of knowing that. The reporter said that the person behind it all was the deputy director. She even chose the pangolin and grilled him, saying, according to him, knowing that he was on fire, he went ahead and returned to the victim's house to find out that their family had committed suicide. The police only discovered that the clown was still alive. He quickly told the clown to go to the emergency room. After knowing all the treasures, I immediately found my uncle and thanked him for trying. Mom, you obviously didn't care either way. He really tried to pretend that the hatred between the two of them was finally resolved. The next day, a news shocked the whole city. A company believed to be LQ had become the largest company of the PQ group. This news is not aimed directly at the PQ group. There are rumors that the person behind LQ is the West. After seeing the news, I couldn't keep calm. She immediately asked to avoid the action. If it's not a waste of time now, I would never write that PQ Group is panicking and asking if it has lost its shares and cannot protect its rights. Stripping PQ's access back into the vice president's place of guidance. You agreed to the deal and informed him that he could proceed as planned. She gave the old roofer the opportunity to roof Tae-dun's roof. What more could he get while Tae-dun wanted to harm the construction of the luxury umbrella? By conducting a substitute investigation with a rival company, people will misunderstand. The West is on the side of building the umbrella. Perhaps the incident 15 years ago will be revealed. The West used to make parachutes to several green karma. At the top was the land buyer, and in the past, the roofing industry exploded. This should have been a good time to consider merit, but I felt indifferent. All of a sudden, all the nobles had been hiding so carefully, but now they were stripped of their books, as if there was a secret servant behind them. Even though people are chattering, they should calmly observe. Because of this situation, they should not rush into action, thinking that someone else will do well. Let's see how he reacts. Of course, he has already experienced a lot of difficulties in trying to get a chance. After that, he could still do nothing. At this time, the school director wanted to meet T. Dunn. He was very curious as to why T. Dunn did not handle the line. Since the parachute line appeared, their long-distance deeds have been exposed, even in the near future. At this point, the parachute flow came out. The parachute users failed. With the ability of the parachute to be able to recognize who the parachute was aiming at, I suddenly laughed. He just wanted to take advantage of the parachute flow. Only after hearing this, the fourth office finally realized, even though it is true that people are effective, just because they knew the school department was in collusion with someone else. During the day, he immediately broke up with his previous relationship. In the evening, he went to meet him at the office. I still want to think again. This is not a Western attack point, but I have already decided, even though it may only be right according to his opinion, they will be honored to be greeted by the Western chariots setting up their parachute. But this job will have windfalls if no evidence is found. The parachute storm gave a parachute request. First, I met the prisoner who said that the Western bridge used to be connected to the parachute cart. To make sure this person doesn't have a problem, that means checking to avoid becoming a T. The person who is always confused between the Western Union and the deputy inspector is very sure whose person he is to do this. He said that preparations should be made for the investigation. An investigation of the people's occupations, including the permission of the Tycoon and the deputy inspectorate. After avoiding the T operations of the civil enterprises were divided into two types. One related to the deputy inspection, mainly cashew tea for control. The other type is related to Western stew. Cashew tea is carefully brewed, not mixed with a bit of treatment. This has proven that it is not easy to stand on the side of the opposition. The two things that need to be done have already been done. Even if you are in the cell, you can start taking action. Another side will appoint the president and meet the West. Han told the Tae Dun, in this body there are no defenders. And there's no such thing as a distant vice president who can end the struggle by getting along. Tae Dun wanted to test the conditions immediately. After the vice president's appointment, Tae Dun felt unsatisfied. He's trying to set the boundaries for the vice president to come up with other conditions. That's helping the numb man to give up the PQ monk's turn and give up the check until now the num feels a bit animalistic. Even though he returned home, he was quite cautious before acting. He had to consider all possibilities. Denounced the investigation of public affairs at this time, because he thought that the terrorists and the PQ group had severed their relationship with the terrorists. Don't give up on PQ, because this is a huge resource. Just like numbed out and PQ monks are acting out, there is absolutely no division between these two people. One of them is the deputy head of the department. Why did the parachute line come to the black transfer office the next day to tell the boss? Your job is to determine the relationship between the Tae Dun and the PQ lawyer. If they really have divided easily, then we can act decisively. If not, you should build it before the Westerners get in your way. Goodness will go close to your relationship. Zone Parachute sent people from construction to Parachute to investigate. Now the president is being treated at the hospital. All work is my responsibility. The deputy director refused to cooperate with the department, requested the same even though a search warrant was required, and the party responsible for the crime would avoid it. I suddenly found out that I received a call from Moza. Although the guy allied himself with the vice chairman of the National Assembly, it was shown that they cooperated. It's the old mistake of the BQD again, showing that the relationship between the Dun and him is enough. There is a president who is preparing money for this guy. This information Oza got from the school department is very reliable. The parachute line got rid of all worries and was finally able to conduct a full investigation of the epidemic. First, they would search the car and move to the parachute. If the governor needs a search warrant, he will give up whatever is in his body to get it. The others, including the main door, came to the main office regardless of their age. When the search warrant was issued, the location would be determined. In the same year, the parachute line began to act, leaving this place for colleagues. He took the clown with him and said he was going to investigate somewhere else when they both arrived at the construction site of the parachute vehicle. Although the lines are discovered, they are still determined to be different. Those who should have finished a bit still haven't made it to the stream, even though they felt uneasy before. He expected that parachute construction had long since ceased to be a civil enterprise but was just a place to carry out certain plans. The parachute family suspected that it was related to Tae Dun, so the young parachutist immediately went to look for Tae Dun. Should we stop investigating the construction of a second parachute? Even though the West never said anything, but the umbrella line can be distinguished based on the eye. Last time, even though the line used, it was also a Western shirt that used regular karma. He was so afraid of missing his wife that he was too numb to look her in the eyes. You boldly give a conclusion. If you look numb even if you look into your eyes, you're lying. Not looking into the eyes is telling the truth. Now it's numb even though looking into the eyes answers the line. Saying he stopped investigating means that he wants to continue investigating. Even if you let go of all vigilance, had to crash into a car and turn it into an umbrella. The colleague who executed the search warrant was also taken to a shelter for safety. In the parachute, the car immediately turned to the parachute. After blocking the road, despite receiving information that the car was a luxury car, despite having borrowed money from many similar companies, the debt repayment is this kiss. Even though I'm extremely confused about the effectiveness, there's still something unclear. The only way to get to a luxury car is to adjust it step by step, but on the other side, it's easy to reach the main owner of the L company, but the results are extremely shocking. According to the right, it was due to the property of the old PQE. There was nothing happening with the Tae Dun. It was easy to realize that exactly as it was, even though they predicted they had been hit by the fire of the Tae Dun. Western use and peeling of the past are not easy to overcome. The relationship around them is still as strong as it has been for many years. He started to feel very confused, and with a search warrant, he went into the main room of the car and set up an umbrella. Being shocked by the news here, after having the idea of starting a car to build an umbrella, they will face the biggest bankruptcy case. They fake the book to trap a lot of money from private companies. If the car is a luxury vehicle, even though it claims to be real estate, the private company will still suffer losses. This is due to the event that the local temple bought new content last year. Although Zone was extremely worried, he had to find a way to reduce it. But the problem they still have to face is not only that it's easy to get a prediction. The accuser has been mugged since the beginning of the year. He left and returned, but the situation was unbearable. He finally realized that everything was in the West's flag, and he still has no intention of stopping now, even though he went to the office of the bishop. But there was no one here, even though I discovered my father's book of lights placed on the hairplate to record a descriptive truth. Over the years, though, he tried to find a way to defend his father, but in the end, his father was the one who was the worst. Even though he was completely defeated by the truth, it turned out that the father he gave to him was actually kind. I have secretly worked for PQ Group since I was in the national situation. Mr. Ari helped the PQ above with a lot of dirty things. On the contrary, the guy was the one who ended his integrity at the end of his position in power. The duchy's forces surrendered to her money. The Duke's wife was seriously ill and was lying on the bed, but he didn't have money to pay his bills, so he used the money to help his father-in-law make a living to help his father-in-law. Also put pressure on him. If the bastard refuses to build a luxurious place like this, don't expect to get the money. The Zorn doesn't want to clear his conscience. The father-in-law sadly watched his daughter die, but refused to take even a penny. This is also a drop of water, completely useless. After his wife went to heaven, Zorn no longer behaved like before. Mr. Tar turned into a different person named Zorn and agreed with his father. Let him deal with the consequences of the case to save his life. Even though I had planned it myself, I didn't expect it to happen when the crime happened so that I could buy the content. A family committed suicide, and that day they were sad even though they were the first to arrive at the scene and see someone dead. He was hesitant to leave, then became sad even though he just found out that the family soldier was still alive. With that child, I know that, if only I was sad, even if I was someone like me, I would easily be able to go to home, or that there is no such thing as survivable things in life. The umbrella he followed was sad and sad, walking on the road sadly. Later he found out that the ground was falling and the car looked for an umbrella. She also saw the light book on the village, and knew that the cause of the family's fate was her father. Not to mention feeling extremely miserable, as the most pitiful person to mention is Tezen. He knows all the truth and is also the one who receives everything after his wife's death. If not, he told Tezen the truth. Everything was his father's love. One knew it was dragging Tezen down. Tezen didn't believe it at first, because he always smokes even if he is a good person, like in a love situation. Maybe God is about to find Tezen's father's light book. Finally, he can also confirm that the statements made by the police are not false. From then on, Tae Dun kept trying to change his official reputation, and any fake person reported to his wife. The wife returned to the open Western reality. They reported contacting and transferring. Even though Sai-chan had accepted the siege to spread out thousands of pearls, there was no guarantee that the two worlds had only one condition, which was to cross over to rely on Tae Dun, to find a reason to blame Tae Dun. Why did he choose Tae-chan? Because this was Tae Dung's father-in-law's company. What better reason than to have his father-in-law, bring someone to rely on even though he had so much money. He was his deputy director. Heng Kang-chao is also the husband of Deputy Director Qian. If we take this opportunity to make the West use civil servants, it will be of great benefit to the government. After the car is upgraded, even if you receive the money for the car, you will still have to declare the property. The amount of money being sold by banks to the market is not large, but private companies that sell luxury cars will follow suit. This market cannot be estimated any further since the department is still linked to Free. After the private companies go bankrupt, B3 will buy it back at a cheap price. The police department also collected an undisclosed amount of bribe money. T-Zoon's clothes are full of clothes. Let's see in the work below. It's true that T-Zoon is a master with just one precise move to kill. Continuously deal with all opponents for a year to avoid the wrong person. Even if it is bankrupt, the deputy director must be determined to be put in a situation where he will receive a lot of money. Only now did he realize that he made a mistake at the first move. That is, the thought was not successful. Oh Jiang came to avoid the T-Town. Ask why he had to go to this extent. The T-Chief always wants to be conservative. The case of self-purchase that year turned his company into a real tea estate. He still remains opportunistic until now. Oh Jiang was extremely disappointed. Because I thought avoiding becoming a T is my best friend right now. The 5th department still has a chance to flip the bottom one. They just need to find the Zio director. The vehicle is not fast enough to build even though the ferry is very long. The situation can be reversed. The problem is that even though the current situation is miserable, he cannot accept his father's true face. The parachute looked at the copper plate containing the organ. He became angry and threw it to the ground. The other side went to the hospital to visit his father-in-law and now he has nothing left to hide. The director has been suffering from numbness in his stomach for a long time. He hopes his father-in-law can keep the actor healthy. Don't rush too soon because you'll be afraid of having to watch the car turn out to be luxurious no matter how expensive it is. My father-in-law was so angry that he couldn't speak after returning from Songsu Hospital to find Tae Dun. I want to know one thing. Why do Westerners have to go to this extent? The reason is because he wants to see Songsu's reaction when he knows his father's true face. Bringing the present look of the Sioux River makes Tae Dun remember the scene at the end of all 3 Sioux Rivers. At that time, Songsu was still working as an accountant, and her career as a counterfeiter was very easy to find. Doing illegal things, Westerners really need the black number of Sioux River's father, and his only weakness is Zongsu's future. If Zongsu's father does not complete the number of lights named Zong Suu, he will be ruined. Zongsu's father knew that Zun wanted to attack him, but his eyes were opened by hatred. Waiting to become a classy person, Father Don Suu called himself. You yourself also have a certain amount of karma, but probably the most profitable karma still belongs to the name Zun. He couldn't keep his identity. If you don't have ambition, why did Zun have to come and build Zong Suu? Respectfully agree with the director to take care of his wife. Why did he have to approach the guilty person of the PQ group? Isn't it difficult to become a 2-star leader? Even though my father was a priest, even though my 2 wives passed away, it's just a flag to blindly reveal the true nature of the path he chose himself. Unexpectedly, even though he changed his attitude, he was suffering because of the truth that had appeared in the past. But after birth, thinking about passing out, there is nothing left. Even though my father is a bad guy, although people are not good people, no one in this world is completely good. But the person who is the deepest in this matter is still a hypocrite. He did not expect the storm to change so quickly. I spoke without being polite, even though I wanted to politely wait and see. What will you do to criticize his face? Don't keep repeating the same misfortunes. On the other side of the 3-shot investigation to the 5th department, he is currently working at the surveillance desk. He specifically came to investigate the case of a whistleblower who made a complaint based on the whistleblower's wife. Like thunder, even though he once threatened good people, if only he were taken to the supervisory board to testify and film the show, his grandmother would still have the opportunity to retaliate. But even though he is honest, he is not afraid of being investigated about the event. His grandmother knows the door will ask. He will do his best to cooperate. After working with her, Fan Yen Chuang left. Yen Duong returned to study with his wife's observations. Just because everything is going according to Tezen's sabotage, the year of trouble is being held back and unable to raise its head. He said that if he was dismissed from his position as deputy director, he would have to resign himself. T-Zorn no longer has a competitor. Like that, and people still haven't figured out how to turn the situation around. Don't let everything be the true meaning of T-Zorn on the PQE group side. The vice president was arrested and taken to the prosecutor's office after a thorough investigation. But T-Zorn first aimed and gathered PQE, successfully overthrowing PQE's takeover of power. under the meaning of being used by the president's son for the first time after taking power. Peeling the old calves and practicing some of the East doors, they will cooperate to make the vice president completely exposed. Peeling the old calves and offering a price of billions for the crowd's cooperation was a bit hesitant. Hands started to fake. When the fake decreased to $1 billion, the crowd couldn't sleep anymore. They hastily agreed to the terms of the old Bokui. At this time, they were like umbrellas and tried to reverse the situation. Forgive the information that Haijang discovered that a good person had just arrogantly passed away. Working in illegal international economic sectors leads to a line that seems to reach my father's light book, which contains extremely important information. PQ's secret is to put the child on the line to receive the confession. PQ cannot see through that. That's why letting him take power in the PQ would mean that the country's karma would also be appreciated. We will not let a foreigner take the lead. Revealing the PQ story could mean that the defeated army will be secretly used to obediently defeat the West. If his nationality is fake, he can be immediately expelled from the country, breaking the Western rule and overturning the PQ. Taking advantage of this to make a relationship between the two of them really a dangerous idea. Because of this matter, we cannot rush back to the doctor to solve the problem. Even though the boss's bankruptcy cannot leave the case to be reused at the present time. Fio Zhang also did not hold back. He used it because he told Fu Dukis to side with the 5th Department. Dukai had this idea long ago. Mr. Zhang wanted to ask Dukai for a favor. Please inform me that the accuser has a daughter and has severed her relationship with her. The bride's affairs were to go to her daughter's house to hear the bad news. However, the soul did not meet the girl, only met her to say hello, and the child was quite self-aware. It seemed like no one was taking care of him, so he took the child to buy food, then called to inform Mr. Zhang. Mr. Zhang asked the soul to continue monitoring the family to make sure the girl knew something. At this time, the vice president came to meet the engineer P. Kui. It turned out that the two people were brothers with different mothers. The vice president blinked. What is the benefit of harming Master P? The president is still not satisfied with the small number of bets that Master P has. Even the president was targeted. Things have come to this point. What does P. Kui Thong have left to hide? Destroying the family's journey to the village is to report to the enemy. At the age of 20, he stripped off his old life and became a coolie in Hokkaido. Every day, I spend my days under the hot sun just to earn a little money. One day, it will be announced that President P. Kui will come to heaven. Peeling back, P. Kui Bong has only one feeling. I want to see what his father looks like. The old mother and father were abandoned by the president when they were young. Lang Thang at the top of the street is afraid of becoming a mother and being abused by someone who eats her life. The PQV prosecutor also assassinated the father. Pui Neep's actions are also a bit haphazard. The president of the PQC will change his mouth from a promiscuous person. Onion one person tries another vegetable. Really angry about PQC, his heartless father didn't even look at him. Even just because of a small mistake, the president is far away from someone who changes jobs and turns the PQC's affairs on its head. From then on, he decided to kick his father down on his mouth. Another side of the chancellor's grandmother started to take action. When he brought the parachute back to take testimony, he installed ceremonial equipment in the parachute location. Thanks to that, my grandmother learned that there was an important document in the convent office. Taking advantage of the year to resolve the matter of the parachute boss. The story of the woman breaking into the office to steal documents. The other party wanted to stop the boss and set up an umbrella. It's not a good idea to solve the money problem even if you find out. The boss built a bunker even though there was still a large amount of land left for sale. It is expected that the group can sell about 7 researchers as of now but cannot fake it. Only one company took advantage of the profitable opportunity to buy back the land, if it could be sold. The situation of crisis and production is also taught to determine the selling margin to try what they lack the most at this time is the time it takes to sell and have to do it easily. We'll rely on the opening 2 based on the decision for a few more parts now. Another way is to sell the company. Even if someone wants to buy it, everyone doesn't know that. That's the original story of PQ's extortion. What kind of sister did you help the audience? And the next day the parachute line was investigated again. In order to develop the process, the wind seemed to prepare the same schedule as last time. Not only T and Duhong also came to review. In the end, the owl relaxed and walked in. Even though she still didn't show any emotions, even the owls came to watch for fun. Even though the situation was difficult, the lady of the house gave out instructions to everyone, then asked the capital's opinion. The monk thought that the soul would be on his side, working together to crush the parachute river. But in the end, every statue of the human soul would help the parachute river. The story goes that his wife was a bit confused. He used evidence to accuse the river even though he threatened the accuser, even though he only smiled. Everything has been arranged and now it's time to start the counterattack. Each receiver aims to avoid division, although he asks to avoid division about his relationship with the accuser's wife. I don't know you like a thunderstorm. Even though I immediately took a copy of you, I don't say you know me, but I say I don't know you. The T-body immediately felt stressed and calmly explained. Lack Brandkit National Testing Agency. Not the T-body often receive phone calls from now on. And 2 believes that prosperous people gathering ladles are among them. Like using the saying of prosperous people gathering ladles. On it, the phone number of Thankia was saved. Just one call would ruin all of Thankia Zeoland's phone numbers, with a caption saying that Phuong Dung accused, but Antajiam said the lie was a traitor. Ko Thankia was exposed. The situation became awkward. Antar immediately got sick, saying that there was a problem with Phuong Dung GAO, so he met Phuong and the accused separately. When he finished, he took out a video and immediately went to meet the defendant. It was discovered that none of the T-bodies had arrived, and none of the T-bodies had left any related surveillance footage. If it is said that the travel line has forced people to gather accusations, then there is no point in doing anything that is hidden in the past. The T itself became worried. If he stayed, it would cause big trouble, so he prepared to go. And the daughter of the person who brought the accusation to his place can prove that she did not even threaten her mother. You also have unbelievable evidence. Sorry that it was an investigation by the parachutes, but he was the one who was destroyed by the school. He had to thank the school for its defense. He didn't just help the parachute. By bringing the good man's daughter as a witness, the villain was faced with a difficult problem. Helping the same parachute means a special crime with the Western parachute. How should he handle this relationship between Tra and Sun? On one side, the Carside's problem with the parachute has been resolved. The student from that company was stopped. One knows the end of winter's learning is very simple. It was discovered that the person who wanted to buy a car with a flat frame, even if it was to peel the car off like a flange, did not want to buy it from a company. The father of the parachute cart and PEQI always has the parachute cart to take care of the PEQI's part. If these shares belong to the PEQI group, the goods will have complete control of the PEQI group. However, the dream of taking off the PEQI was seen through by the gambler. Now, despite having won a big victory, the car was stripped of its weight and failed miserably. Not only did it fail to honor the part of the car that built the parachute. The deputy director believed that his father would come forward, and the investigation quickly announced that the deputy director would admit guilt. But in fact, she is creating a path for herself, but for the West. The failure of his old plan made him uneasy. After all, the two of you are in the same relationship as Nan Tae Dun still retains the following tricks. That is to incite the ship to protest in front of the world's public. They bought a deputy director who had bad morals and was also assigned to the 5th Department for abuse of power, after arbitrarily entering a civil investigation. Building an umbrella is so corrupt that the protesters want the highest leadership to take responsibility. The development of the world is unstable. With the call of planning and I guarantee that he will resolve the situation satisfactorily. He will definitely not build a parachute. If any problem occurs, he will also take responsibility. He will not neglect the exhibition. Let's talk about smart people. Z is the change of vice and the two opposites of the West. He looked at the wind, but the Attorney General was wrong, thinking that not paying attention was the best solution. Frankly speaking, the Attorney General was not very wise in using people. Initially, he planned to calm down and avoid the confrontation, to test the abilities of the two people. As a result, the Attorney General dug himself into a hole when things developed to this point. He must have solid karma. Now the director only knows to ask Ojang in the morning to solve the problem in front of him. The director will help him with the last steps before he asks for help in asking for this position. In the evening, even if he comes to look for the old Pete, according to the information he has, the 20-year-old position of the peak is always left behind in Japan. Why was the 20 president in the nursing home area forced to be booted? He wanted to find his blind blood back. At that time, the old P. Precious had come to the throne. I was lucky enough to have the milk president stay by my side. The problem is with the fact of being an illegitimate child. What can you get from the old P you can get from the PU? The young lady thought about a problem. For a long time, even though our ancestors had defeated the army, we were defeated and exploited, discovered by chance. But the copper and the organ are secretly hidden inside. The error of not being able to remember is the defeat. 20 years ago, the old PQE was still in receipt of the copy. His father was the next to receive a drink from a shop to help his mother, PQE. Even though the mother objected, She used a doe to continue the father's behavior as if he were looking at his father's nature and found it poetic. That year, the old power of PQE returned and liberated the house. The problem is that the ancient power of P is equal to occupying the outside. My father's umbrella was built at the same time, and he committed the crime of anti-cable, which he said was accompanied by the old force PQE. The two cases will take place in two different areas from the police's point of view. The son's testimony is more convincing. After all, he is also the Khan's father. The meaning is to turn over the excess and transform it to benefit others. And this dirty boy is the other credit director who always walks around turning over the balance. The relationship between the two is very complicated. Both a partnership, but also a traitor. Just a small move can cause the relationship with the other child to be simplified, putting both birds in a situation where one loses one child. My father soon spoke to the credit director and confessed the evidence and audio recording. Today, even though my voice brought evidence to meet my old friend, it wasn't to deal with him, but ask him to present evidence that even if there is only one voice, the enemy of the West is the only one. Even though his voice is very stereotypical, he has brought the guilt of the old PQE to the West. If PQE hadn't made the first move, sooner or later, Dunn would have dealt with him as to the true purpose of his parachute voice. It's when people fight each other, like in the past, PQE was not easily offended. He didn't love to touch her strongly. At this time, the vice president went to meet Tazun, and in a situation he offered him attractive conditions. As long as Tazun stood by his side, he would only control the situation of the country. Tazun wants to be president but is also subject to the vice president's condition of having only one heir, which is to eliminate the PQE boss. Tazun was a bit agitated even though after the last episode, he stopped taking advantage of them after the two left the restaurant. The winter industry last year was able to live even though the door was followed by dozens of photos and extra people to distract the teacher. On the other side, PQE was taken away by the prosecutor, but Khan suddenly received pressure from the West and secretly met with the vice president. The ancient forces realized that they had been betrayed. This was actually a move by the parachutists. If the old PQE forces were to be overwhelmed by the situation, they would definitely bring out a defeated army to deal with the Tae-dun. The prosecutor deliberately let the old force of PQE to escape, so that someone could follow Khan, the son of a man of the year. If you are pushed to this road, you will definitely encounter a confrontation that may come to an abrupt end. Just capture both of them in battle. Everything will end perfectly. Please contact me. It's just that the two of them got into an argument and suddenly pulled out a video of the car being used on the side of the road to watch. Last year Dongko also parked his car to observe the seemingly upright rhinoceros. He couldn't have expected it. There is a video of the person who killed PQE, and the guy who killed him suddenly resembled the person who immediately took the opportunity to invite him to arrange to peel off PQE. In a place that suddenly feels like an accident, the starting point will also be the ending point. It all seems like one person has to die tonight. Peeling the old bamboo shoots along the fence at the same time, there is no new discovery, reducing the frequency of sizzling and can be used at a shop. However, not only could he not find a supervisor, but instead he found a supervisor using a fish that was not yet loaded. He even became the director of the school bus, and at this time, the old turtle had reached the point of contact. Team members and staff stood at a distance to watch. Peeling old calves for the car requires great care. No Tae-dun. Tin Kong suddenly thought it was too late. Tae-dun has not yet appeared. Even though the stream is right from the beginning, the stream is clear. Now the credit line is still alive, immediately reducing the severity of the problem. After the incident related to the reputation of the sand source, the PQ attorney ordered someone to kill the production director. Although I don't know how he lived, his relationship with the lawyer PQ was broken. In addition, the murderer of the producer's father, using the name of the name, took advantage of this point. Send the director of credit to deal with the PQ lawyer, giving the two people a chance to end the matter. Jong-dung wanted to call Din to inform the lawyer PQ, but he did not realize that things were getting more and more complicated. On the other side, the credit reduction appeared without any hesitation in peeling off the old regulations. The car door was blocked by an old car door and couldn't be opened. Decreasing credit sucks again and again. My car is old and nothing changes. He stipulates that the vehicle should be used in addition to the old P rules. Peeling off the old P refuge in the air when on guard. Why do dead people appear here? Now he can no longer reduce his will. He has to explain himself first. When the person's behavior is decreasing dramatically, Tien sees the yellow police take advantage of the governor's use of distraction to help teach the opponent. He will use the flag of legitimate defense to tell the police, but the governor will not give him a chance to reveal the past. If the hand is released, just pedal gently, and the car will fall into the abyss and the two people will pile together. This is similar to the fact that the old PEQE flag was forced to be lost by the Westerners. Even though Zhong was extremely frustrated with what the West could think of, he did not ignore the police. Deng had a question in his mind as to why the old PEQE had the piano in his car. He was okay even though he started investigating the credit director. He has a magical phone number with a message containing the address and password on it. This is the door lock of the director's house that functions as a phone number but does not belong to him. Without marrying him, he didn't even know where his house was after the credit director disappeared. 2 employees of the military are also missing. One of the findings was placed at the credit director's house based on the director's contribution, so this phone call could be from the other 2 employees. They accepted the job but left the credit director. But on the way there was an incident. An employee was bought dozens of Western noodles, so he only used the same amount of sausage to save the famous director. The case of the credit director has been resolved, but even though Rong still had a suspicion, how could the police force know that Tae Dun had pressed his father's umbrella? That night, the director did not ask for permission. Finally, I came up with a model to solve the problem. The Western Union and the surplus force cooperated together for the light window. If the blackness has a sheep to save the sins of the ancient power of PQ, he couldn't help but be intimidated, so he took the initiative. The old force of the PQ had to abandon the spies next to the numb people. And that person is none other than the credit director. That's why he got the video of the crime. The answer has already been explained to see if the credit director's actions will be realized. Then he was threatened that his mother would take him first and not leave the place, but go back home to pack up your things. It's not about choosing the perfect frame, but what the credit discounter needs to take away is not rights and money, but things that can be like his mother, for example, eggs related to the crime of Western appliances, for example. No matter how many times the credit discounter comes to 6 houses to meet with Western appliances. He said that there was a section in his family with the egg. The parachutes had 2 options, either confessing to be sure of their karma, or losing everything. Several officials of the parachute line knew that by heart, but Tae Dun still felt worried, so he immediately went to look for the head of the parachute line. However, the subordinates searched the room and still couldn't find anything. Tae Dun felt confused. After that, Tae Dun went to meet the school director, and she also, through his words, Tae Dun knew that even though he went to the director's house was murdered twice by the police. Couldn't find anything, so it must have been a lie. He decided to speed up the plan to only have luxury cars even though he was bankrupt. Only then can the school release the yearly department, then take the opportunity to apply the school's local department from before using the name. The first 2 things you need to do are to ask professional drivers not to help lift the vehicle to the parachute. Duong Hai did not let the 5th department find the shirt manager. The school department, the owl, is sure to be the director of the shirt, and the professional cars have the names of the officers themselves. Under the warning of the idiot, you will be able to buy a car based on this money. Do not hesitate to act when the situation is low and deadlocked. Not that I'll go to the West again. She gave an ultimatum. If you don't confess, won't release the movie. He pushed Westerners to get excited. The previous self-esteem completely disappeared. He will decide what to do at the same time, even though he is still actively paying for the school bus. But I can't find the device. Despite deciding to change tactics, don't look for people, but look for ads. The director is a generous family member. Now that Mr. Tar's property is blocked, there is no other way to look for it. After scouting several companies for the role, he couldn't remember the director's EO, but there was one person who tried to persuade him. That was the woman who had been searching for the role every year and quickly caught the director's EO. This means that Tae Dun's plan doesn't require much guidance from before. He called the 3rd department's Trung department to come to check FAT. The 3rd department's Trung department quickly dispatched the 5th department. Need to complete 2 tasks. I just didn't get a picture from the supervisory board. One is to complete the acquisition of parachute construction, or to fully refund 1.5 billion in change. Finding product manager Xiao can only solve the problem. The name Don has directly participated in the acquisition problem. If the 5th department cannot handle it, the punishment for the 5th department will continue to be the temporary shelter. The final situation is 3 more times. Tomorrow is the deadline for the 5th punishment. If you can't do it, then 3 strikes are enough. Later, the child did not understand and came to Tham Tae Dun Dukis to talk to Tae Dun. But the school is at hand. He will drink for you at any cost. Unexpectedly, while the West was resting, wedding capital and office to see computers with Western kernels was soon discovered. Let me not understand and want the fire to lie to myself. The Dowager felt that the West's guardians wanted him to commit suicide. Even though the young soul calls for the year, tomorrow the year will be disbanded and the soul will definitely be sent somewhere else. He really doesn't want this to happen. In the blink of an eye, the scheduled day arrived, and Dwong received a video. When the parachute left the performance director's house and indeed found a battle base, Dwong immediately became uneasy. He called for the 3-shot draw, asked for the 5th bet. The 3 strokes show that everything is going well. The 5 shots are working very well. There is no reason to punish Dwong, who is speechless. Unexpectedly, the school's 3rd great-grandfather also betrayed him. Why did the 3rd department school department do that? It happened on the day the 3rd department school department tried dozens of parachutes items. No one will be recorded eating mixed cashews. If he doesn't get along with the girls department, the department will report it to the police. Go to the hall. Even though Zone had been waiting for him for a long time, he still had one question. Professionals who can afford to buy luxury cars were all warned by him. Whoever controls him is responsible for him. Although he naturally replied that it was a PQ construction vehicle, a small house of the PQ group. If it is possible to merge the parachute construction vehicle and the PQ construction vehicle, they can be completely separate from the corporation. If you choose such a small size, the PQ construction truck will definitely not be missed. T-Zoon's doubts have been resolved for a long time. Like, even though he started coming his way, visiting the ladies without saying anything. Impulsive use of PQ car roofing products. Ignore your father even though the situation has reached this point when faced with hand-to-hand. The Zoon could not continue to be obstinate, turned around with him and admitted everything he had done. The defense was just an opportunity, allowing the Zoon to climb to a higher position, saddened by the bad ambition and greed in his heart. He realized too late that the Zoon's hands were bleeding. There was no way back. Zoon took out his phone to show him another video from the day the car crashed. That day, after he left, PQE and the credit director arrived at the scene. Dad's distant position, even though it wasn't originally going down, the wind toppled it down. I know the truth, but I can't even get enough of it. He was overturned and had been exposed to fire for 5 years. Collaborating with him to commit crimes, even though he admitted that he had no intention of doing so. Because the conversation from just now was going on, everyone knew the true face of the numb man. His karma was completely over. There was no more calling or quitting before he was forced to blindly choose to end his life. Even though he didn't file a blacklist, even though it ruined his father's fortune, as if that was the punishment he had to receive. In fact, after the numbness left the scene of the accident, he immediately asked if he wanted to call the police, hoping they might call for an umbrella. I was awake, and when the police arrived, the car had been filled to the brim with water. T-Bun mistakenly thought he was leaving the lower level and continued with his right eye until he couldn't play. Now the parachutist has finally accomplished his goal of calmly leaving the world, even though there are many details left, but his colleagues still respect the parachute's decision. A year later, in the election of the Prime Minister, the father-in-law became the strongest candidate, which was completely consistent with what he had done, while the parachute also came to work in a small department. Even though he doesn't earn much money, he also feels peaceful. Dong is the responsibility of every citizen. Helping the state is easy and beneficial, but without compassion or kindness, it creates new people with deep-seated intentions to take advantage. Don't wait for a little benefit. It will cause you to have a day without looking at the image of the sun. If I told you the math, for example, the movie would have ended. Thank you everyone for watching until the end. Became everyone in the shutters to continue.